Chapter 2052. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's move caught everyone by surprise. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's attack instantly knocked 4 or 5 people into the air, causing them to fall off the tall platform in a sorry state. Even a sovereign personage could not withstand an attack from this wine cup. How strong was the energy contained in the wine cup? How startling was it? However, the many winemakers standing on the tall platform were not injured. When the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor made his move, his target was clear. He would not harm the innocent. Xiao Chen had no more than 3 seconds to think. If he could not make a decision within 3 seconds, he could only dodge. Soon, the wine cups would empty. Even if he wanted to attack, he would not have a target. In the time it took for a spark to fly, the demand on the outstanding talents here was so high that it made one's hair stand on end. Xiao Chen thought for only 1 second before making his move at lightning speed. He instantly circulated his vital qi and fixed his gaze on the wine cups flying at him. Then, Xiao Chen caught one of the wine cups. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The wine spun in the cup at a startling speed. A huge force surged out from the cup, numbing Xiao Chen's arm slightly. Xiao Chen's footing was somewhat unstable, but he did not fluster in the face of danger. He swung his right hand slightly and scattered the force. Then, he firmly placed the wine cup on the table. Bang! Just as Xiao Chen caught the wine cup, the arms of a few rank 7 sect true inheritors who also caught the wine cup broke. Led by the wine glass, flew out. 2 cups. After stabilizing the first cup, Xiao Chen moved much more easily, placing the wine cup on the table. Interesting. I like it to be more interesting. Pei Xiaoxian was the first to catch the 3 wine cups. After drinking wildly, he guffawed. Then, he ferociously attacked, sending out energy. Ding! Dang! Dang! Hundreds of wine cups immediately shattered. The scattered wine splattered in all directions like raindrops with great force. Immediately, many people were hit by the splashes. Their skin and flesh were lacerated as they screamed in pain. Here's a cup for you. Xia Houwu suddenly let out an evil laugh, fiercely pushing the cup of wine in his hand towards Xiao Chen. With a kacha sound, Xiao Chen was just about to receive the cup of wine. On the spot, it was smashed by the flying wine cup, and the fragments flew everywhere. They were all sharp weapons that could injure people. Xiao Chen's expression did not change. He gently waved his right hand, and saber winds spread everywhere. These boundless fragments transformed into a wild storm of blades that swept towards Xia Houwu. The Xia Houwu who was waiting for Xiao Chen to make a fool of himself jumped in fright. He had never expected this to happen. Xiao Chen casually resolved the crisis and even materialized such a terrifying saber wind. Seeing that he could not dodge in time, he quickly dodged in a sorry state. After this game, Xia Houwu did not dare to find trouble with Xiao Chen. He focused on receiving his 3rd cup of wine. When all the wine glasses in the air had flown away, only 9 people managed to catch 3 cups. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's move eliminated most of the participants in the Wine King contest. Not bad. There are still 9 people remaining. I know that many of you are here for the ethereal Immortal Palace's treasure key. Without any strength, obtaining the key is just sending yourself to death. Don't blame me for chasing you away. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor showed a smile that did not seem like a smile. To him, the Wine King contest was more like a game. The defeated cultivators and the people from the outer courtyard watching the excitement now understood. So, that is the case. No wonder the previous Wine King contests did not have such a move. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor paused for a while before saying, "After drinking my wine, it is time for me to drink yours. Come, bring out your wine. Let me see what good wine old Shui chose for me." The Heavenly Slaughter Sect's young sect master, Wang Yun, clapped his hands, and the wine master behind him quickly took out a wine flask. After receiving the flask, Wang Yun walked out first. "I specially prepared this flask of unfettered sky for Senior Peach Blossom. It is a forbidden wine of the Blood Moon dynasty. With just one cup, one can achieve all one's wishes. Fellow appraisers, please consider carefully before you drink it. Wang Yun was very confident in his unfettered sky, revealing a smile on his face. Unfettered sky! Rumor has it that ordinary people cannot drink this wine. Just one sip will make one die from happiness. Even if you are a martial artist, if you do not have an outstanding state of mind, you cannot simply drink. The ingredients for such a forbidden wine are extremely rare. To think that Wang Yun managed to find it. I thought that Xiahou Wu would win this time. It looks like it is going to be difficult. Wang Yun felt very cocky when he heard these discussions. However, drunkard Cui, who was beside the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor, waved his hand and said, "Go down first. The people behind are still waiting." Wang Yun could not help feeling somewhat embarrassed. He thought that the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor would look at him in a different light after he delivered this forbidden wine. Wang Yun had only spoken a few words with Wang Yun. Unexpectedly, Senior Cui chased him away. In that case, this junior will take his leave first. After Wang Yun left, Pei Shaoxian stepped forward, carrying a round wine flask with both hands. The wine flask was covered in mud, looking very old. Pei Shaoxian smiled and said, "I don't know what wine this is, either. It was dug out from underground and has never been opened before. I estimate that it has at least 3,000 years of history. Let's see if the city lord likes it." As soon as these words came out, there was an uproar. This Pei Shaoxian is really messing around. How dare he participate in the Wine King contest with wine that he dug out from a pile of corpses? What made him even more speechless was that he didn't even know what kind of wine it was. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor raised his eyelids slightly and glanced at Pei Shaoxian. Then, he asked, "Don't you find it heavy?" Pei Shaoxian smiled and said, "It is quite heavy." But the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor clapped his hands ferociously, and the soil on the wine bottle cracked. Then, the wine bottle exploded. It revealed a white crystal glass-like skull that flickered with cold light. It was incomparably sinister and cold. This was actually a wine cup made from a skull. The owner of the skull was at least a sovereign emperor when he was alive. The sinister skull that suddenly appeared startled everyone. Pei Shaoxian could not help taking a few steps back, his complexion pale. He didn't expect that he was hugging a skull. Inside the skull, there was some liquid that sparkled under the sunlight. "You may leave," the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor said indifferently. Only then did Pei Shaoxian leave with some lingering fear in his heart. The people who were mocking Pei Shaoxian earlier all kept their mouths shut, completely stunned. First, there was Wang Yun's unfettered sky forbidden wine. Now, there was Pei Shaoxian's mysterious skull wine. The wines of the two demonic Dao cultivators were completely unconventional, turning this Wine King struggle into a confusing affair. Following that, the others stepped forward and offered up the wines they brought. Without exception, all of them were excellent brews of the world, opening everyone's horizons and making them sigh in amazement. When Xiahou Wu stepped forward and brought out the 9-colored divine phoenix that great master Yuanfei brewed, everyone was shocked. "My goodness! It is actually the 9-colored divine phoenix. Great master Yuanfei truly lives up to his name. This is the 9-colored divine phoenix. Since great master Ning Xinyun passed away 500 years ago, no one has been able to brew the 9-colored divine phoenix. Unexpectedly, I get to see this wine again today. I thought that the demonic Dao cultivators would snatch away the title of Wine King. Unexpectedly, a great master is truly a great master. To think that he took out the 9-colored divine phoenix." The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor could not help showing a slight change in expression. He said softly, "I finished the last bottle of the 9-colored divine phoenix 100 years ago. Unexpectedly, I get to see it again today. Great master, many thanks." On the tall platform, Great Master Yuanfei pressed his palms together and returned the bow. City Lord, you are too polite. Excellent brews only exist for true wine makers. Without the Peach Blossom Wine Festival, there would be no 9-colored divine phoenix. These words made the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor happy. He said to Xiahou Wu, "Stay behind and sit beside me, then." Xiahou Wu rejoiced. After bowing, he quickly walked over. This action set the crowd abuzz. With the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's generous gift, it looked like the title of Wine King would fall to Great Master Yuanfei again. The victor of this Wine King contest was still Xiahou Wu. Now that the 9 people offered up their excellent brews, only Xiao Chen remained. Xiao Chen had 2 choices. One was to take out Waning Moon to compete, and the other was to take out Heartburn. However, honestly speaking, even if he took out Heartburn, he might not win. Xiao Chen had not expected Xiahou Wu to bring the 9-colored divine phoenix. The grade of this wine was no lower than Heartburn's. This was especially so after Great Master Heart Cloud passed away. No one had been able to brew it for hundreds of years, making it even more precious. Most importantly, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor clearly missed this 9-colored divine phoenix and had a special liking for it. When Xiahou Wu saw that Xiao Chen did not move, he smiled and said, "Xiao Chen, why are you still not stepping forward? If you feel ashamed of your inferiority, you can forfeit. There is no need to feel embarrassed." Indeed, the 8 wines that took the stage could all be called excellent brews. Some of the eliminated people even celebrated in their hearts, glad that they managed to survive. If they were still here and took out a wine of too low a grade, they would have embarrassed themselves too much. There was no way to compete at all. The others had similar thoughts as Xiahou Wu. They felt that Xiao Chen should be ashamed that he could not take out a wine of the same grade. When the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor saw the situation, he consoled softly, "Little friend, just step forward. There is no need to worry. Being able to stand until the end is already a success. No matter what wine you bring, even if it is just a cup of water, it is better than those who are not qualified to stand here." When Xiao Chen heard that, he could not help feeling somewhat disappointed. Xiao Chen was a smart person. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's words were just a form of consolation. The meaning of the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's words was very clear. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor already had a wine that he liked. No matter what wine Xiao Chen brought, it did not matter. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor was already satisfied. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly and did not say anything. He stepped forward and placed Heartburn with the other wines. Then, he left without saying a word. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor only loved the 9-colored divine phoenix. All the other wines were destined to serve as foils. Chapter 2053. Xiahou Wu took over and said loudly, "This wine has." Everyone slapped the table and could not help cheering. However, they were afraid of disrupting this beautiful zither music. Seeing Xiao Chen remain silent, Xiahou Wu revealed a victorious smile. There was no need to say who the champion was. Everyone laughed and evaluated each other. Wang Yun's Unfettered Sky, Pei Xiaoshuan's Bone-Grinding Wine, Yi Han's Heavenly Ice, the Profound Heaven's Holy Sun's Flying Cloud Wine, Xiao Chen's Heartburn, Xiahou Wu's 9-colored Divine Phoenix. Xiao Chen stretched out his hand and caught a snowflake. It melted on contact, and his hand felt cold. It looked extremely ordinary. When Xiao Chen looked at the wine cup and saw that the wine was even more ordinary, he could not help mocking it. The entire place erupted into an uproar. As everyone looked at the wine cup containing the 9-colored Divine Phoenix, their eyes blazed with desire. Such a scene was considered a miracle at the wine party, eliciting mockery from the cultivators of the inner and outer courtyards. Immediately, countless envious gazes landed on the heavenly fragrance's holy daughter. Many people felt their mouths go dry. They wanted to go forward and drink the wine in one go. The prohibition of alcohol truly lived up to its name. Just one look was already so frightening. What would happen if one really drank it? The other appraisers quickly put down their wine cups and quickly walked over. The mysterious phenomenon materialized by Wenren Yu's flying cloud wine perfectly demonstrated what it meant to be ethereal. A hazy fog rose up from the unfettered sky along with the wine, materializing a twisted illusion. Everyone saw a different illusion in the hazy fog. They were all the desires buried in the depths of their hearts. The previously bustling city lord's residence instantly fell deathly silent, devoid of any sound. The place immediately turned noisy. The originally relaxed wine party immediately turned tense. After taking a sip, the heavenly fragrance's holy daughter put down her wine cup and praised, "This is indeed an excellent wine. Even the legendary Jade Lake Immortal brew is not as good as this." An older old man could not bear to see Xiao Chen in such an awkward situation. He walked over and picked up Heartburn. The wine that fell was like a spirit spring falling from a celestial river in the sky. If it weren't for the fact that it was on the same stage as the 9-colored Divine Phoenix, the other top-grade wines would have had the opportunity to become the main characters. As the wine was poured into the glass, thin snowflakes gushed out. Snowflakes fluttered about, spreading out and drifting over the entire high platform. "Master Feng, what happened to you?" The moment the light appeared, it immediately attracted everyone's attention, causing them to inhale a mouthful of cold air. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Lord waved his hand, and a few attendants immediately stepped forward to pour wine. As expected of an excellent wine. How rare! A 9-colored Divine Phoenix. To be able to see a 9-colored Divine Phoenix in my lifetime, I am satisfied. Knowing that it was no match for Zhang Xian, the 9-colored Divine Phoenix casually picked up a flask of wine to make up for it. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor looked at the heavenly fragrance's holy daughter and said, "Since the holy daughter is willing to give me face and come over, I will let the holy daughter taste the first cup of 9-colored Divine Phoenix wine." Just a gentle breath of the multicolored light made one feel refreshed and refreshed. As the flowing water hit the wine glass, it produced a quiet and rhythmic tune. Wenren Yu smiled faintly and took out the zither on her back. She casually plucked the zither strings with one hand, and the beautiful zither music immediately merged with the tune of the wine. To think that he dares to bring poisoned wine to the Peach Blossom Wine Festival. Does he not know how to spell death? 9 types of excellent wines were placed before the Peach Blossom Sovereign Lord and the many appraisers. With one look, it was clear that this wine was prepared for an ancient demonic sovereign. Whoosh! When Xiahou Wu heard the appraiser's words, he could no longer hide the cocky feeling in his heart. He could trample on the profound heaven's holy son, Yi Han, Pei Shaoxian, and the others. Even if it was just a wine festival, it was enough to make him feel proud. 9 attendants raised the 9 wines at the same time and slowly tilted them. The fragrant wine turned into strands of gorgeous silver light under the sunlight and fell into the wine glass. There was a saying, "The success of a general rests on the bones of 10,000 people." How many corpses were there under the feet of an ancient demonic sovereign? Without an unparalleled tyranny, one would not be able to suppress the baleful aura in the wine glass, not even able to raise it. Of the 9 people present, aside from Xiahou Wu, no one else had been invited. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Lord looked at the other impatient appraisers. Then, he smiled and said, "Everyone, feel free to taste the wine." Poison! This was the charm of the unfettered sky. The more one abstained from alcohol, the more tempting it was. These appraisers are too much. At the very least, they are just putting on a show. This is too hurtful. Plop! Xiao Chen fell heavily to the ground, his fate unknown. Be it the 2 unconventional demonic wines, the profound heaven's holy son's flying cloud wine, or Yi Han's heavenly ice wine, they all pale in comparison. What is a wine king? This is the true wine king, suppressing the righteous and evil, standing out above everyone else. This is the king of wine. There was a total of 9 bottles of wine, 9 types of excellent wine competing for the title of Wine King. The Holy Daughter overpraises me. If you are willing, I am willing to offer up another flask at the heavenly fragrance banquet. The wine cup emitted a 9-colored glow as the wine was poured into it. This peach blossom wine festival far surpassed the previous ones, creating a history that would not be surpassed for a long time. However, the mysterious phenomenon materialized by Pei Xiaoshuan's demonic bone wine was incredibly sinister, radiating a horrifying cold qi. What flowed out of the skulls did not seem like wine but terrifying corpses. The wine cup contained a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Indeed, who could have imagined that the people left behind would bring out such excellent wines? Even the 9-colored divine phoenix came out. Xiao Chen can only blame himself for being unlucky. How could the Peach Blossom Wine Festival be treated like this? However, they still had to go through the necessary procedures. They had to cover their mouths the moment they opened them. It had to be said that the mysterious phenomenon of so many excellent wines appearing at the same time was a feast for the eyes. However, Xiao Chen's heartburn remained quietly on the table, no one touching it. After the 9 kinds of wine were poured, it was time to taste the wine. Even the Peach Blossom's sovereign emperor's expression changed slightly. As his gaze fell on Xiao Chen, a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. The multicolored light became increasingly resplendent, flowing with many colors and changing many forms. "Senior sister, what's going on? What wine did young Master Xiao give?" Chu Xiang asked the heavenly fragrance's holy daughter somewhat anxiously. Although the wine of the others is slightly inferior, it is not that much inferior. It is still very attractive, and people are willing to drink it. The Peach Blossom's sovereign emperor had not specifically thanked any winemaker to show his respect. This nameless ancient wine inspired fear in everyone, not daring to look at it for long. "This is too embarrassing. Fortunately, I did not go up. Otherwise, I would have ended up like this." Compared to these 2 unconventional demonic wines, Yihan's heavenly ice wine was like a clear stream. I thought that this wine would never appear again. Who could have thought that it would appear in Great Master Yuanfei's hands? Each of these wines had their own merits and could be said to be unique. However, after the 9-colored divine phoenix phenomenon appeared, the other mysterious phenomena instantly paled in comparison. The heavenly fragrance's holy daughter replied softly, "Many thanks, Crown Prince Xiahou." This fellow had also given up on himself. An awkward scene appeared. Even the unfettered sky and the cold demon bone wine had appraisers willing to try it. If I were one of these appraisers, I would do the same. At the very least, you have to taste all of these top-grade wines. The clouds swirled, and the wine in the jug pierced through them. It was as if it was falling from an altitude of 10,000 meters, turning into a clear waterfall that fell into the wine cup. The Peach Blossom's sovereign emperor was in a good mood. When he saw this, he did not say anything. Instead, he looked at the 9-colored divine phoenix with a fervent gaze. Putting down the wine cup, Zhang Xian was just about to leave when his face suddenly warped. He clutched his chest, revealing an expression of extreme pain. There were also people who saw themselves hugging 2 beauties, with the heavenly fragrance's holy daughter on their left. On his right was the white dragon holy daughter, and behind him was a group of heavenly fragrance's disciples. The scene was rather alluring. The heavenly fragrance's holy daughter shook her head and said, "I don't know either. However, this wine should not be an ordinary wine. It is not as simple as it looks." Everyone's gazes fell on Xiao Chen, feeling extremely incredulous. When these people looked around, they suddenly discovered that the wine that Xiao Chen served did not show any mysterious phenomenon. Naturally, the result went without saying. The Peach Blossom's sovereign emperor raised his hand and flicked away the people charging at him. When the wine cup was filled, a bright multicolored light ignited and turned into a fierce flame. When the wine cup was filled with the heavenly ice wine, the snowflakes that spewed out slowly gathered and formed an ice flower swaying in the air. The appraisers immediately stood up and poured a glass of the wine they liked. As the wine flowed out of the wine bottles, all sorts of magnificent mysterious phenomena appeared. Of course, not everyone felt that Burning Heart, which was served without any introduction, could be considered as a top-grade wine. Right after the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor spoke, an envoy brought wine cups to the Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter. There were even some people who could not resist the temptation and flew up, wanting to charge into the tall platform. Ding, 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 dang. Some people saw themselves becoming famous, surpassing sovereign personages and becoming a sovereign emperor. A divine phoenix soared out of the flames and soared into the sky. Then it circled the tall platform, attracting everyone's gazes. Unfortunately, there were no ifs. With just one look at such a fine wine, one would find it pleasing to the eye. When one felt a chill, one's heart instantly calmed down. As one stared at the ice flower, one's heart swayed with it, recalling the many happy and peaceful memories of the past. When these people met this 9-colored divine phoenix, they were destined to lose their splendor, becoming foils. These people whispered to each other and shook their heads, showing dissatisfaction and disappointment in their eyes. This mocking voice attracted the attention of others. Many appraisers looked at Xiao Chen's wine cup. Whoosh! The divine phoenix flapped its wings, and multicolored light descended. The entire city lord's residence bathed in this multicolored light. After taking a look, the divine phoenix raised its wine cup and casually drank it. This wine is poisonous. Up on the tall platform, just as the holy daughter prepared to move and try heartburn, the cultivators of the inner and outer courtyards all showed shocked expressions, sighing in amazement. After receiving this praise, Xiahou Wu's eyes filled with pride as he casually made a promise. The old man known as Grandmaster Feng showed a pained expression as he pointed to the wine flask on the table. However, before he finished speaking, he stopped. Chapter 2054. Poison? The expression of the seated Xiao Chen did not change. However, his heart sank. How could the wine be poisonous? Grandpa Seven personally brewed this wine. Up until now, he had only unsealed it twice. The first time was in Grandpa Seven's house, and the second time was now. Grandpa Seven could not have poisoned the wine. No one would dare to play tricks under the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's nose, so there was absolutely no problem with the wine. The only possible reason was that something went wrong with Grandpa Seven's brewing. Wanting to brew heartburn, the Dragon Clan's #1 fine wine, was not an easy task. The process was complicated and profound, and it required a high level of skill from the brewer. It was possible that a slight mistake would cause the wine to turn into poison. However, Xiao Chen trusted Grandpa Seven's skills. In a short instant, Xiao Chen's thoughts raced as he thought of many possibilities. However, the current situation did not give Xiao Chen much time to think. City Lord, he is not breathing. His heartbeat has stopped, and his aura of life is very weak. We need to quickly save him. The expressions of the two City Lord's residence experts who went to check on the old man's aura changed drastically after a while. Although this old man was an appraiser, his cultivation was not low. He had been a sovereign personage many years ago and could be considered famous in Peach Blossom City. Even if it was a poisonous wine, such a ferocious poison was simply too startling. The moment Xiao Chen said that, another round of startled cries rang out. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor frowned slightly. There had to be something strange about this. Logically speaking, Xiao Chen should not have brought poisonous wine. However, the problem now was indeed the wine that Xiao Chen brought. How bold! Xiao Chen, to think that you dare to bring poisonous wine to the Peach Blossom Wine Festival. At this moment, Xiahou Wu could no longer hold back. Now that Xiao Chen was seeking death, this was the best opportunity to trample on him. Xiao Chen ignored Xiahou Wu. He stood up and asked, City Lord, can you let me take a look at this sir's condition? Xiahou Wu smiled coldly and retorted, "Are you seeking death? This sir is already in grave danger. If you delay him, what if he really loses his life? City Lord, I suggest we take down this brat now. We can interrogate him later if he has any conspiracy." The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor entered deep thought. This was indeed the best course of action. However, it still felt somewhat strange. Seeing the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor hesitate, Xiahou Wu continued, "Lord City Lord, if there are no surprises, this wine should be tasted by Lord City Lord. I think his goal is." Xiahou Wu's words caused one's hair to stand on end. This Xiao Chen's heart was a little too big. Enough. However, just as Xiahou Wu was about to continue speaking, the Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter stopped him. Then, she looked at the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor and said, "City Lord, I have interacted with Xiao Chen before. He is definitely not such a person. Let him have a look. With me here, I can guarantee this lord's life." Now that the Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter spoke up for Xiao Chen, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor had to give her some face. He said seriously, "I'll give you 10 minutes. If you cannot give a reason, there is no need for you to exist. No one has ever dared to cause trouble at my Peach Blossom Wine Festival." The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's expression remained calm, showing no signs of anger. However, Xiao Chen was well aware of the danger of the situation. The other party was not lying. As long as the other party wanted to, they could make Xiao Chen disappear from this world in an instant. Xiao Chen's life hung on a thread. He could not afford any mishaps. "Many thanks, City Lord." Xiao Chen stepped forward and looked at the old man on the ground. Then, he sent in his spiritual sense. After a while, Xiao Chen frowned slightly. The old man was indeed not breathing, and his heart had stopped beating. The old man's life force was extremely weak. No matter how Xiao Chen looked at it, he looked like he was in grave danger. "What's going on?" Seeing Xiao Chen's confused expression, Xiahou Wu said coldly, "Quickly leave. Don't delay the treatment. Otherwise, even the Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter will not be able to protect you if he dies." Clearly, Xiahou Wu was very rude to the Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter for interrupting him. "What's going on?" Xiao Chen did not hear what Xiahou Wu said at all. He was only thinking about the reason. Suddenly, he remembered the feeling he had when he drank heartburn for the first time. Xiao Chen's eyes lit up. Then, he asked the person beside him, "Old sir, what was your previous cultivation?" "Great perfection, sovereign personage. What's wrong?" The city lord's residence's people did not understand why Xiao Chen asked this. However, they still answered honestly. Xiao Chen revealed a smile on his face. Then, he stood up and looked at the city lord. "City Lord, it was just a false alarm. I already know the reason." The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor showed an unfathomable expression as he asked indifferently, "What reason?" This old sir was not injured, much less poisoned. He was just drunk. Xiao Chen explained calmly, enunciating every word. "Ha ha ha ha. He was drunk." Xiahou Wu felt stunned when he heard that. Then, he guffawed. "Xiao Chen, are you joking? Do you know who these appraisers are? They are all famous wine tasters of the desolate sea. They have been drinking wine for hundreds of years." "Drunk? When they were drinking wine, you were not even born yet." It was not just Xiahou Wu. When the others present heard Xiao Chen's words, they could not help laughing. "Is this Xiao Chen crazy? I think he really is crazy." Without a certain level of appreciation, why would the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor invite them over? Earlier, those grandmasters drank so many excellent brews and did not get drunk. It is impossible for this lousy wine to get drunk from just one cup. What a joke! I believe that these appraisers have tasted all kinds of excellent brews before. I have never heard of anyone getting drunk before. The Peach Blossom Wine Festival has a history of several thousand years. I have never heard of an appraiser getting drunk before, right? The cultivators in and out of the city lord's residence discussed this matter. They all showed expressions of disbelief and mocked Xiao Chen, speaking big words. Are you not afraid of biting your tongue? Senior Bai did not even get drunk from my unfettered sky. How can he get drunk from your lousy wine? The heavenly slaughter sex Wang Yun already disliked Xiao Chen. When he heard Xiao Chen's explanation, he could not help scolding him coldly. Indeed, Xiao Chen's words were somewhat exaggerated. To those who drank wine, getting drunk was already a rare occurrence. After all, they were all cultivators. It was not easy to get drunk. Furthermore, Xiao Chen only drank 1 cup. How could that be? If that was true, then wouldn't Xiao Chen's wine be even more amazing than the excellent brews that they brought? Humph! What a joke! This old man has brewed so many wines, but I have never seen a wine that can get someone drunk from just 1 cup. 30 years ago, old Seventh Du said the same thing. Even after 30 years, his temper has not changed. Great Master Yuanfei could no longer sit still. He stood up and snorted coldly, looking at Xiao Chen in dissatisfaction. Xiao Chen's expression changed slightly, and anger flashed in his eyes. Great Master, you can just say it about me. There is no need to implicate Lord Seven. Great Master Yuanfei smiled coldly and said, Why can't I say it? A trashy brewer hiding in a remote and desolate place for 30 years actually dares to let a descendant come out and embarrass himself. I think this Peach Blossom Wine Festival is getting worse. Anyone can come and participate. Your Highness, let's go. There is no need to remain in this place. Xiahou Wu's lips curled up as he said, That's true. A trash giving away a cup of lousy wine, yet he dares to boast shamelessly. Hee, my 9-colored divine phoenix can't make people drunk, it's embarrassing. Your Highness, I think there is no need to send the 9-colored divine phoenix to your heavenly fragrance banquet. Just bring Xiao Chen's lousy wine. Right after Xiahou Wu spoke, he tidied up the 9-colored divine phoenix and prepared to leave. The other appraisers quickly stepped forward and tried to persuade Xiahou Wu with kind words. Immediately, Xiahou Wu gained a lot of face. He smiled and said, Everyone, it is not that I do not want to stay. It is just that my 9-colored divine phoenix cannot compare to this lousy wine. It cannot make everyone drunk. Sorry for the ridicule. The place immediately turned somewhat chaotic. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's expression changed slightly. This was the first time he showed anger. Xiao Chen's words were indeed somewhat overboard. City Lord. The heavenly fragrance's holy daughter's heart skipped a beat. She knew that the situation was bad, so she quickly called out. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor waved his hand to stop the heavenly fragrance's holy daughter from continuing. He said indifferently, I already gave him a chance, but he is still trying to run his mouth in front of me, spouting nonsense. Damn it! Xiao Chen panicked. Unable to care about anything else, he immediately kicked the old man on the ground. Ouch! Who kicked me? A miserable shriek came from below. Old Bai, who was lying on the ground, his fate uncertain, suddenly cried out miserably. Old Bai stood up in a daze, staggering. His face flushed red as he looked around, appearing confused. He woke up. Based on Old Bai's confused appearance, he was clearly a drunkard who had just woken up. Up on the stage, the appraisers and geniuses were all dumbfounded. He really did wake up. This was especially so for Xiahou Wu. He was stupefied, not knowing what was going on. Who kicked me? Old Bai shook his head and recovered somewhat. However, rage filled his face. A murderous intent even flashed in his eyes. A terrifying aura burst out of Old Bai's body, eliciting startled cries. Consummation Peak Sovereign Personage. The tall platform immediately fell silent. Everyone was stupefied. Old Bai broke through. All he did was drink a cup of wine and sleep. Unexpectedly, he broke through the bottleneck that he had been stuck at for hundreds of years. What exactly is this wine? This question lingered in everyone's hearts. 2163. Who kicked me? While everyone was shocked, old Bai, who had stood up, did not give up. He demanded furiously, burning with rage. The others appeared confused, not knowing what to do. They did not understand why old Bai was so angry. Xiao Chen replied calmly, I did it. Damn it. This old man nearly touched the threshold of divine Vane Realm's sovereign emperor. Murderous intent immediately radiated from old Bai. However, when he saw that the person who came was Xiao Chen, he showed a stunned expression. Old Bai withdrew his murderous intent and said somewhat embarrassedly, So, it is young Master Xiao. Sorry for the offense. Seeing that Xiao Chen had kicked him, old Bai's attitude immediately changed 180 degrees, quickly apologizing. However, the others did not pay much attention to this. Instead, they were stunned by old Bai's earlier words. Xiao Chen nearly touched the threshold of divine Vane Realm's sovereign emperor. What exactly is this wine? The people at the scene were going crazy, including those outstanding talent. They were all dumbfounded. Old Bai's words were somewhat exaggerated. However, what happened to Xiao Chen forced everyone to believe it. Previously, who would have believed that someone would break through the bottleneck of Great Perfection's sovereign personage after getting drunk? Great Master Yuanfei was somewhat stunned. Unexpectedly, such a thing happened. Could it be that old Du really brewed such a miraculous wine? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Great Master Yuanfei rushed towards the heartburn somewhat crazily, wanting to find out what it was. Whoosh! However, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor was faster. He stretched out his hand and caught the wine bottle. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor removed the lid and gently sniffed. It was just an ordinary wine fragrance, nothing strange about it. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor could not help frowning slightly. To think that there was a peak wine that he did not know about in this world. At this moment, everyone knew that the bottle of wine that Xiao Chen brought over was not poisoned but a peak quality brew. It had an incredibly miraculous effect, far surpassing that of the other 8 peak wines. However, when the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor sniffed it, he showed a confused expression, unable to guess anything. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor could not help looking at Xiao Chen and asking, Little friend, what wine is this? Heartburn. Xiao Chen answered calmly, resolving the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's doubts. Heartburn. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's eyelids twitched. He asked somewhat excitedly, Is this the strongest wine of the dragon race, Heartburn, which has not appeared in 5,000 years? Xiao Chen nodded. That's right. Whoosh! The moment Xiao Chen said that, a huge commotion broke out. Everyone showed incredulous expressions. Heartburn? What wine is this? How come I've never heard of it? Does anyone know? It has been lost for far too long. 5,000 years ago, the Dragon Emperor bestowed the last flask of heartburn to someone in the Divine Dragon Empire. As for the recipe, it was lost long ago. The origins of this wine are too great. No wonder there were no magnificent mysterious phenomena. Turns out that it is a strong wine. This Xiao Chen really hid his strength. I heard that back then, someone was willing to use a jade mine to exchange for a flask of heartburn. The people on the tall platform showed all sorts of expressions. Some were shocked, some found it strange, and some felt incredibly disappointed. When Great Master Yuanfei heard the words, heartburn, he said somewhat dispiritedly, Heartburn, how could he brew heartburn? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Lord City Lord, please let me have a sip. Otherwise, I will not be able to accept this. Drink a sip? Haha. Didn't Great Master say that he was leaving earlier? Why are you still here? Now, no one is begging you to stay. However, the Ice Snow Mountain Manor's Yihan laughed faintly at this moment. His laughter was filled with mockery. This made Xiahou Wu feel embarrassed. He had been too cocky earlier, thinking about the 9-colored Divine Phoenix. No matter what, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor would give in under pressure. After dealing with Xiao Chen, The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor had not expected Xiao Chen to take out heartburn. Naturally, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor could not agree to Great Master Yuanfei's request. He said calmly, "Someone, send Great Master off." "No, I'm not leaving. Let me have a sip. I don't believe it. I don't believe that old Seven Dew can brew heartburn." However, Great Master Yuanfei seemed somewhat deranged. He continuously shoved the people sending him off, appearing somewhat frenzied. How stubborn! The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor lost his patience. He had always respected the brewer. However, such nonsense crossed his bottom line. These people seemed to have forgotten that he was a divine Vane Realm Sovereign Emperor. But the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor did not see the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor do anything, but he directly sent Great Master Yuanfei flying. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor looked at Xiahou Wu and said, "Crown Prince Xiahou, please go ahead." After all, Xiahou Wu was the Crown Prince of the Hound Lion Empire. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor gave him some face, making an inviting gesture with his hand. Xiahou Wu's face was completely lost. In front of everyone, he felt a burning pain on his face. "Many thanks for Lord City Lord's magnanimity. Goodbye." Xiahou Wu showed a cold expression, not saying a word as he quickly left with his head lowered. Xiahou Wu did not want to remain in this place for even a moment longer. He had never been so embarrassed in his life. This was especially so when he pretended to leave in front of everyone. Who knew, he ended up overreacting. He would probably be the laughingstock of the desolate sea for a long time. When Xiao Chen saw this scene, he felt some joy amid his calmness. If one did not seek trouble, one would not die. This Xiahou Wu kept jumping around. In the end, Xiao Chen slapped his face until it swelled up. Xiahou Wu had only himself to blame. However, what made Xiao Chen happy was that Grandpa Seven finally proved himself by not stepping into Peach Blossom City for 30 years. 30 years later, Xiao Chen finally fulfilled Grandpa Seven's long-cherished wish with the heartburn that Grandpa Seven brewed. "Xiao Chen, why did you not explain the origins of this wine earlier?" The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor looked at Xiao Chen in confusion, feeling suspicious. The others did not understand either. If Xiao Chen had introduced this wine as heartburn, Xiahou Wu would not have dared to jump around like that. Or could it be that Xiao Chen was very scheming and purposely dug a hole for Xiahou Wu? If that was the case, it would be too scary. Xiao Chen said honestly, "I did not know that heartburn would have such value. In reality, I already drank a flask of heartburn before, but it did not benefit as much as this old sir. I only felt that it was sufficiently strong and that it was a good flask. Furthermore, the City Lord clearly fell in love with the 9-colored Divine Phoenix back then. I felt that the victor was already decided, so there was no need to waste words." Indeed, at that time, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor had called Xiahou Wu to his side alone. His love for Xiahou Wu was already indescribable. However, there was one more thing that Xiao Chen did not mention, as he could not be bothered to explain. This was because of the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's indifferent attitude when he spoke to Xiao Chen. Since the other party did not care, naturally, Xiao Chen did not need to say anything else. "What cultivation realm did you drink it at?" the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor asked in shock. "Middle stage Holy Venerate." After the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor heard that, he felt that it was a pity. He sighed, "What a waste, what a waste. You are too wasteful. The effects of this heartburn can only be brought out when one is at least a sovereign emperor. Only the first time you drink it will have an effect. If you drink it again, the effects will be much weaker. You will never be able to make up for this regret." Actually, Xiao Chen already knew about this. However, this heartburn allowed him to skip initial perfection sovereign personage. His advancement to small perfection sovereign personage and the conversion of his bloodline power more or less made up for some of his losses. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor looked at the many appraisers behind him and said, Xiao Chen, this wine is already certain to be heartburn. However, it is too precious. There is no way for everyone to taste it. I will directly name heartburn as the winner of this Wine King contest. That's how it should be, how it should be. If the 9-colored Divine Phoenix had not left, we might have been able to compete for it. Since Great Master Yuanfeng forfeited, it must be heartburn. Haha. Congratulations to the City Lord for obtaining this fine wine. The other appraisers all agreed with the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's words. Sighs resounded in the crowd. No one had expected the final victor of the Wine King contest to be Xiao Chen. No one had expected the final victor of the Wine King contest to be Xiao Chen, whom no one had expected. This was simply unbelievable. Alright, since no one has any objections. Since no one has any objections, I will fulfill my promise. Xiao Chen, this is the key to the ethereal Immortal Palace's treasure. Keep it first. If you have any other requests, I can agree to them as long as they are not overboard. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor looked at Xiao Chen. At the same time, a simple brocade box flew into Xiao Chen's hand before many people's fervent gazes. Xiao Chen received the brocade box. After he put it away, he looked at the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor and said, City Lord, I would like to have City Lord protect Lord Seven's village for 100 years, preventing the bandits and the various large factions from harming it. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor felt shocked. This is too simple. I just need to say a word, and no one will dare to touch Old Seven's village. Consider this request a gift from me. Make another request. Given Xiao Chen's strength, he could rank among the best among sovereign emperors. No one would offend him over a village. Xiao Chen felt surprised. Unexpectedly, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor was so agreeable. He did not know what to say. What request should I make? Chapter 2055. What request should he make? His request could not be too excessive. He could not possibly ask for the extermination of all the Heavenly Slaughter sect disciples present. Many people focused their attention on Xiao Chen. They were all very concerned about what kind of request he would make. Even among Divine Vein Realm Sovereign Emperors, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor was one of the strongest. Xiao Chen even dared to slap the Hound Lion Empire's royal court's winemaker. Most importantly, in the Desolate Sea, Peach Blossom City was a rather special force. Peach Blossom City was also a rather special force. It did not differentiate between righteous and evil, not stopping people from coming and going. Both the righteous and demonic factions would give the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor some face. It was extremely rare for someone to make a request of the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor. After a while, Xiao Chen said, Lord City Lord, if I return to the Divine Dragon Empire one day, can you protect my life? The moment Xiao Chen said that, everyone fell silent. Many people thought of all sorts of possibilities. However, they had not expected Xiao Chen to make such a request. Everyone here had long since figured out Xiao Chen's background. They knew that he caused a huge commotion in Divine Dragon City during the competition between the 7 outer palaces. Furthermore, he cultivated the forbidden Supreme Dragon Fist. Xiao Chen had become a thorn in the Golden Dragon bloodline's side. It was already a miracle that he managed to escape the Divine Dragon Empire. To think that Xiao Chen still wanted to return. This person was truly suicidal. Interesting. If we want to protect his life in the Divine Dragon Empire, how can we talk about merging? The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor definitely has no problem protecting himself. However, it will be difficult to protect him from the Golden Dragon bloodline. This person is really stubborn. Of all requests, he could not make such a request. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor collected many secret treasures and secret technique. Any one of them would be a priceless treasure. To think that he wants to return. It is unknown whether he can avoid the Golden Dragon's pursuit outside. The cultivators in the City Lord's residence discussed this, feeling pity for Xiao Chen. The Peach Blossom's sovereign emperor remained silent for 3 seconds before saying, "I do not know if I can protect your life in the Divine Dragon Empire. Back then, when I fought with the Purple Gold Dragon Emperor, we both had our victories. If you knew about the horrifying existence behind the Golden Dragon bloodline, you might not have made such a request. However, since you raised it, I will still agree. If you really return to the Divine Dragon Empire one day, I will do my best to protect your life." There was a terrifying existence behind the Golden Divine Dragons? Xiao Chen felt slightly stunned when he heard that. To think that even the Peach Blossom's sovereign emperor said that. Xiao Chen once suspected that the Purple Gold Dragon Emperor imprisoned the previous generation Heaven Dragon in the Starry Heavens Dragon Prison. This was because Xiao Chen learned a secret that he should not have known. After that, that mysterious faction got the Purple Gold Dragon Emperor to restrain the previous generation Heaven Dragon. This was because the appearance of the Heaven Dragon could raise the Divine Dragon Empire's luck. Unless it was absolutely necessary, no one would sever their own arm to imprison the Heaven Dragon. "Thank you, City Lord." Before Xiao Chen could think too much, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor agreed in the end. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor nodded slightly. Then, he looked at the others and said, "This time, everyone brought peak-quality wine. Peach Blossom City will not mistreat everyone. After this, Old Shui will pick some treasures from my treasury to give to everyone." "Many thanks, City Lord." Even if they did not win the Wine King contest, they might be able to obtain a part of the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's collection. This trip was not in vain. The others all stood up and performed cupped fist salutes in thanks. This Peach Blossom gathering came to an end here. All that was left was the Peach Blossom banquet. However, just as the group prepared to take their leave, the Heavenly Slaughter Sect's young sect master suddenly said, "Brother Xiao Chen, if you can trade Heartburn's recipe to me, I can let bygones be bygones for what you did to the Heavenly Slaughter Sect." The moment Xiao Chen said that, the atmosphere turned somewhat strange. Originally, everyone had a tacit understanding about this topic. Since Heartburn appeared, then Xiao Chen must have obtained the recipe. However, the matter of this recipe was somewhat sensitive and not suitable to be discussed in public. Now that the Heavenly Slaughter Sect's Wang Yun mentioned it in public, he clearly harbored malicious intent. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor raised his eyebrows. Then, he looked at Wang Yun and said, "In Peach Blossom City, we only talk about wine and nothing else. If you are not willing to stay and drink, I can send young Master Wang out of the city." "I don't dare. I was just speaking casually." When Wang Yun saw the situation, he quickly changed the topic, not saying anything more. Clearly, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor meant that as long as Xiao Chen remained in Peach Blossom City, he would protect Xiao Chen. This stopped the other people who had other thoughts from thinking too much. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. He had long expected that someone would bring up the recipe. Actually, before he came, he had already thought of a way to deal with this. Xiao Chen stepped forward and took out the recipe. "City Lord, can you help me keep this recipe safe?" After it was exposed, this recipe would be a disaster in Xiao Chen's hands. He might attract a great perfection sovereign personage or even a sovereign emperor. The losses outweighed the gains. Xiao Chen might as well do the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor a favor and hand it over to the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor. The recipe for Heartburn was written on a special beast bone. The words were similar to divine characters and could not be read or memorized. He was unable to read or memorize it. Only when he held the beast bone in his hand could he correctly read the formula. In reality, the 9-colored divine phoenix had used a similar method. The Peach Blossom City Lord felt slightly stunned before understanding. He received the recipe and took a look. Then, he said, "Don't worry. It is in my hands. You can come and take it at any time." Wang Yun was greatly startled. He had not expected Xiao Chen to do this. Xiao Chen decisively gave up on Heartburn's recipe. Pei Shaoxian smiled and said, "This fellow is a smart person and very decisive. If we keep it, as long as we leave Peach Blossom City, we will die within 3 days." The others all showed different expressions. Some even showed disappointment. Clearly, it would be much easier to obtain the recipe in Xiao Chen's hands. In the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's hands, there was practically no chance of obtaining it. The eyes of the profound heaven's holy son, Wenren Yu, flickered. No one knew what he was thinking. After putting away the recipe, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor smiled and said, "Let the banquet begin. Everyone, drink to your heart's content." The Peach Blossom banquet began. The Peach Blossom City Lord took out some of the fine wine he normally collected for the cultivators attending the Peach Blossom Wine Festival to enjoy. The bustling banquet lasted until dusk before slowly ending. Xiao Chen returned to the Heavenly Fragrance's residence together with the Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter. "Congratulations, young Master Xiao. It is truly rare for you to emerge victorious in the Wine King contest," the Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter said with a faint smile. Chu Xiang said in admiration, "Young Master Xiao is really decisive. You gave up on the recipe of the dragon race's best wine without hesitation, not giving that Wang Yun any chance." Xiao Chen said calmly, "For this recipe to land in my hands, I practically did not spend much effort. It is not a pity to give it away. Furthermore, it is not easy to brew heartburn. Even Grandpa 7 does not have a high success rate. I was lucky to be able to brew a flask this time. Oh, by the way, I have something to ask the Holy Daughter." The Heavenly Fragrance's Holy Daughter asked, "You want to ask about the ethereal Immortal Palace?" "There is no rush for the ethereal Immortal Palace for now. I would like to ask the Holy Daughter if you know the faction behind the Golden Dragon race that the City Lord mentioned." It was not difficult to find out about the ethereal Immortal Palace. What truly concerned Xiao Qin was the existence behind the Golden Dragon race. The Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter hesitated for a while before replying, "Young Master Xiao will naturally know what you need to know. If you do not know now, there must be a reason. I can only say that the time is not right." Clearly, the Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter knew the answer. When Chu Xiang saw Xiao Qin looking at her, she smiled bitterly and said, "Young Master Xiao, don't look at me. I do not know what you are talking about." "All right, the time is not right." Xiao Chen smiled helplessly and did not pursue the matter. The Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter said calmly, "Young Master Xiao, not pursuing the matter is actually a good thing. You will know when you need to know. There is one more thing that I need to tell you. Qin Zhuolin will come and look for you 3 days from now." He already agreed. Xiao Chen felt slightly surprised. "I only passed on a message and he agreed?" The Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter smiled and said, "Indeed. I owe young Master Xiao a favor. If you need any help, you can come and look for me at any time. As long as young Master Xiao says the word, I can help you resolve your conflict with the Heavenly Slaughter Sect, getting them to stop bothering you." Xiao Chen smiled and said, "I'll owe him a favor first. There is no need to trouble the Holy Daughter with such trouble." "Good. It is getting late. Chu Xiang, send young Master Xiao back to rest." The Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter did not say anything more. She bowed slowly and left. Chapter 2056. The Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter seemed to be separated by a thin veil, preventing Xiao Chen from seeing through her. Fluttering over, fluttering away. However, Xiao Chen was already used to it. As he watched her leave, he said, "This senior sister of yours is really strange. It's just a few steps away, yet she still asked you to send me off. Clearly, she could have done it herself." Chu Xiang said softly, "That's how senior apprentice sister is. There are many times when you want to show concern for someone, but because of your status, you can't completely put down your airs. She could only ask me to do this on her behalf. You can just treat me as your senior sister. There's no difference. Isn't this unfair to you? You're just like a shadow." Hee, there's no such thing as fairness or unfairness. We grew up together and are like sisters. How could I possibly fuss over such things? Hearing this, Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat. Doesn't that mean you've seen her true appearance? Even if one felt the heavenly fragrance's holy daughter's appearance, one could clearly see it. However, the scene that appeared in his mind was always separated by a thin layer of fog. It was extremely strange. Basically, everyone who saw the heavenly fragrance's holy daughter would be curious about her. Chu Xiang smiled and said, "Of course I have. Actually, you have seen it too. However, senior sister is currently cultivating heart force. Those who have not grasped heart force will not be able to retain her appearance in their hearts." Heart force. Xiao Chun had some understanding of heart force. The Scarlet Blood Pirate King had comprehended heart force. Furthermore, he had used his peerless talent to write the heavenly heart art, which allowed people who could not comprehend heart force to use their soul energy and quintessence to create a simplified version of heart flame. One could not cultivate heart force, one could only rely on comprehension ability. The Scarlet Blood Pirate King comprehended it only after advancing to Divine Vein Realm. This heavenly fragrance's holy daughter actually comprehended heart force at such a young age. This was truly shocking. This is a secret. No one else knows about it. I can tell you everything that I know. However, I truly do not know what sort of existence is behind the divine golden dragon bloodline. Chu Xiang shrugged, indicating that she was indeed unable to help. Xiao Chen, on the other hand, was a little embarrassed. He smiled and said, "It's fine. I'm already here. There's no need to send me off. Alright, see you tomorrow. If you're not in a hurry to leave, we can continue to spar." Alright. At night, the blood moon hung high in the sky, and there were no stars in the sky. Aside from the blood moon, there were no stars in the desolate sea's night sky. Just as Xiao Chen was about to sleep, he suddenly recalled the brocade box he obtained during the day. The key to the Immortal Palace. Let's see what it is first. Xiao Chen took out the brocade box, opened it, and immediately saw an ancient key shaped like a sword. There was some fine handwriting on the key. Xiao Chen took a closer look. When he saw that the inscriptions were actually divine characters, he gave up on the idea of continuing to look at it. Divine characters could not be memorized or read. The special recipe for heartburn was a simplified version derived from the divine characters. Only by holding the animal bone in his hand could he read and memorize it. I wonder what use it has? Is the misty Immortal Palace related to immortals? After pondering for a moment, Xiao Chen was still clueless. Thus, he placed it back into the brocade box before placing it back into his storage ring. Looking at the blood moon outside the window, he lay on the bed and let his imagination run wild for a while before he gradually fell asleep. When a thick layer of clouds covered the blood moon outside the heavenly fragrance's residence, a figure covered himself up so tightly that only a pair of eyes could be seen. This figure looked at the sky and took out a talisman. After the talisman burned, his figure started to turn immaterial until it completely vanished. This was very similar to the void talisman that Xiao Chun and Jiang he used in the Yanwu dynasty's soaring dragon city. After the figure immaterialized, the black figure silently passed through the many restrictions of the heavenly fragrance's residence. Then, he entered Xiao Chen's courtyard. In the dead of night, no one expected that someone had already sneaked into Xiao Chen's courtyard. Furthermore, that person arrived at Xiao Chen's bedroom. After the black figure entered the bedroom, his figure slowly revealed itself. However, that person seemed to have another treasure on him. It was similar to the death god mask, isolating his aura, making it hard to detect. The black figure's gaze locked on Xiao Chen's storage ring, and a strange light flashed in his eyes. Then, he formed hand seals with both hands and took out a palm-sized astrolabe. As the astrolabe spun, his soul energy immediately turned into thousands of strands that slowly seeped into Xiao Chen's storage ring. The infiltration process was extremely difficult. Furthermore, he did not dare to startle Xiao Chen. The black-clothed man appeared to be cautious and extremely patient. An entire hour passed, and he did not move at all. Success! A strand of soul energy finally succeeded in seeping into Xiao Chen's storage ring. Then, the black-clad person closed his eyes and did his best to recall what the brocade box that the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor gave Xiao Chen looked like. After a while, the black-clad person's soul energy detected a spot of bright light in the pitch-black storage space. The bright light disappeared in a flash. However, in this 1,000th of a second, the black-clad person's soul energy quickly wrapped around it. The black-clad person pulled, and an incredible scene appeared. The brocade box in Xiao Chen's storage ring actually appeared in the black-clad person's hand. Joy flashed in the black-clad person's eyes as he quickly opened it in excitement. However, the instant the black-clad person opened the brocade box, the ethereal Immortal Palace key flew away from his eyes. The black-clad person saw that Xiao Chen had woken up at some point in time, firmly grasping the ethereal Immortal Palace key. The black-clad person cursed in his heart. Then, he turned around and left through the window, not lingering at all. However, Xiao Chen was no slower than the black-clad person. The black-clad person turned into a flash of lightning and instantly gave chase. Whoosh! After revealing himself, Xiao Chen snorted coldly and instantly drew his tyrant saber. A saber light lit up the night sky, firmly locking on to this black-clad person. Damn it! The black-clad person discovered that he could not dodge this saber strike. Helpless, he could only turn around and send out a palm strike. The palm light and the saber light clashed. In that instant, the courtyard supported by the formation shook somewhat. They were also on the verge of collapse, continuously stirring up commotion. Boom! It was also at this moment that the Heavenly Fragrance Palace, which was originally pitch black, suddenly became brightly lit, as bright as day. More than 100 Heavenly Fragrance disciples appeared from the various pavilions, charging at the black-clad person with weapons in hand. Dodge! With Xiao Chen delaying him, the black-clad person looked like he was about to fall into an encirclement. So, he roared, no longer suppressing his strength. The black-clad person unleashed his aura, erupting with startling and terrifying might. Then, he sent out a mountain-like palm image. Before the many Heavenly Fragrance disciples could close in, this person's palm strike knocked them back. It looked like this black-clad person was about to flee. Just as Xiao Chen was about to give chase, a figure descended from the tallest pavilion in the residence. This figure looked like an immortal and knocked this person back. After suffering this attack, the black-clad person's aura weakened significantly. Clearly, he was severely injured. Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter, you are actually so strong. The strength that the Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter burst out with seemed extremely surprised, shock flashing in his eyes. However, you still can't stop me. As the black-clad person spoke, his body started to fade into nothing, slowly fading away. Void Image Talisman? The Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter frowned slightly. In the end, she was too late. When Xiao Chen discovered this person, he had already activated the Void Image Talisman. However, the Holy Daughter was not willing to let this person off. Her figure soared up and gave chase under the moonlight. The Void Image Talisman had a time limit. This person could not remain hidden forever. As long as he revealed some clues, she would have a chance to catch him. Xiao Chen, are you all right? Chu Xiang asked out of concern as she arrived beside Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen sheathed his saber and replied softly, I'm fine. If he wanted to kill me, I would have died already. That's why he came. The ethereal Immortal Palace key? Xiao Chen nodded. Fortunately, I left a mark on this key during the day. The instant he opened the brocade box, I noticed it. Even so, Xiao Chen still felt some lingering fear. This person came to his room without a sound. If he really wanted to kill him, he would not be able to do so. If he really wanted to kill Xiao Chen, it would be hard to say whether he could survive or not. It looked like he could not let down his guard even though he was in the Heavenly Fragrance's residence. He could not be so lucky every time. Sorry, I nearly killed you. To think that this person even dared to barge into the Heavenly Fragrance's residence. Chu Xiang said somewhat apologetically. It's fine. Xiao Chen entered deep thought, finding this strange. Who could this person be? The Ice Snow Mountain Manners Yihan? The Heavenly Slaughter Sex Wang Yun? The Blood Flame Sex Pei Shaoxian? Or perhaps the Profound Heaven's Holy Son, Wenren Yu? Many candidates appeared in Xiao Chen's mind. All of them were suspicious, but he could not match them up. It was even possible that none of these people were Xiao Chen. It looked like some people's desire for the ethereal Immortal Palace key far surpassed his expectations. This person even dared to barge into the Heavenly Fragrance's residence. He wondered if the Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter could catch up to him. Chapter 2057. When dawn was about to arrive, the Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter returned alone. Senior sister, you failed to catch him? The Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter said softly. An expert obstructed me along the way, so I lost him. Young Master Xiao, are you injured? Xiao Chen shook his head and repeated what he told Chu Xiang. Who do you think that person is? Xiao Chen asked in the end. The Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter replied helplessly. I can't figure it out. However, we should have met this person before. He purposely hid his familiar martial technique. Otherwise, I would not have injured him so easily. If I guessed right, he should be one of the people participating in the Wine King contest on the tall platform. As for who it is, I am not sure. This person had a treasure that could isolate his aura and purposely hid his identity. It would be difficult to find him. It was already very difficult for the Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter to narrow the search to 9 people. If Xiao Chen had to ask who it was, the first person he thought of would be the Ice Snow Mountain Manners Yihan. This person desired the ethereal palace's key, and even took the initiative to seek Xiao Chen out. Perhaps Xiao Chen's vague attitude at that time made Yihan feel that there was no hope of obtaining it through a transaction. Hence, Yihan took the risk to come to the Heavenly Fragrance's residence to plunder it. However, is he really that strong? Xiao Chen knew that the Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter comprehended heart force. It would be difficult for Yihan to escape from her hands. Aside from Xiao Chen, there were also the Profound Heaven's Holy Son Wenren Yu, the Heavenly Slaughter Sex Wang Yun, Xiahou Wu, and Pei Shaoxian. Does young Master Xiao have a candidate in mind? Xiao Chen recovered his wits and replied, I do not. Actually, it does not matter. Even if I guessed it, I cannot do anything to these people without evidence. As long as he does not give up on his evil intentions, he will fall into my hands sooner or later. Holy Daughter, can you explain to me what kind of place this ethereal immortal palace is and what is the use of the key? After some thought, the Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter asked, Do you know how many grades of soul tools there are? Xiao Chen knew this. He answered casually, Soul tools are divided into 3 grades, inferior grade, medial grade, and superior grade. Regular rank 6 sects had inferior grade soul tools. Only rank 7 sects and factions could control medial grade soul tools. As for superior grade soul tools, only the Holy Lands and dynasties could control them. The Qiongqi Beast Ghost Pennant and the God Shadow Bow in Xiao Chen's hands were both medial-grade soul tools, carefully chosen by the Scarlet Blood Pirate King. It was extremely rare. Even among medial-grade soul tools, it was one of the best. Under normal circumstances, Xiao Chen would not dare to take out these 2 soul tools. If news of them leaked out, it would bring him great trouble. Wrong. Rank 4? The Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter corrected Xiao Chen. 4th class. Right. Aside from inferior grade, medial grade, and superior grade, there are also transcendent grade soul tools. Xiao Chen asked in confusion, What does this have to do with the Immortal Palace key? Legend has it that the ethereal Immortal Palace hid a transcendent-grade soul tool. After the heavenly realm shattered, divine tools no longer existed in the martial epoch. A transcendent-grade soul artifact is the strongest artifact in the world. Any force that possesses it will immediately become a holy land, or even surpass it. The heavenly fragrance's holy daughter continued, 100,000 years ago, the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor used this transcendent-grade soul tool to defeat and seal the unparalleled Black Dragon King, ending the war between righteous factions and demonic factions. The blood-soaked Dragon Emperor once used this soul tool? Startled, Shao Chen quickly searched through the vast blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's memories for any transcendent-grade soul tools. The blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's memories were too vast. If one did not have any crucial clues, one would not be able to search for them rashly. He might not be able to find any useful information even after a year and a half. The transcendent-grade soul tool that the heavenly fragrance's holy daughter had given him was different. Soon, Shao Chen found some useful memories. He could not help asking, "Are you talking about the Wings of Time?" "You actually know." "That's right, it was the Wings of Time." Back then, the Black Dragon King had been insufferably arrogant. He had used the destruction dragon flame to burn down the world tree. He caused the heavenly realm to lose its source of energy and collapse in an instant. All the martial gods were severely injured, and their strength plummeted. Nearly no one was a match for him. The heavenly fragrance's holy daughter felt somewhat surprised. To think that Shao Chen knew such a secret. However, when she thought about how he was a member of the dragon race, she understood. After a pause, she continued, "The righteous Dao factions worked together to gather the divine Aeon steel fragments and forge the Wings of Time that could reverse time. Then, they helped the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor defeat the Black Dragon King, ending the previous war between righteous factions and demonic factions." Shao Chen remained calm and collected as he continued searching for information about the Wings of Time in the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's memories. He finally found it. After the Black Dragon King was sealed, there was no longer a need for the Wings of Time. Because the Wings of Time were too strong, the various Holy Lands feared them, so the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor continued to hold the Wings of Time. The blood-soaked Dragon Emperor understood this principle, so he returned the Wings of Time. The various Holy Lands refined an immortal sect remnant to seal the Wings of Time. This immortal sect remnant was the ethereal Immortal Palace. After that, the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor lost his memories. In the battle with the Black Dragon King, the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor also suffered irreparable injuries and vanished 100 years later. Shao Chen looked at the ethereal Immortal Palace key in his hand and immediately felt incredibly heavy. Don't tell me that this ethereal Immortal Palace key is the key to opening the ethereal Immortal Palace? If that were the case, why did the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor give him away as a prize? The Wings of Time was a transcendent-grade soul tool. Why did he not open the ethereal Immortal Palace himself? The heavenly fragrance's holy daughter smiled and said, "That's right. This is indeed the key to opening the ethereal Immortal Palace." However, what? Shao Chen asked. "However, it is useless even if you have this key. No one knows where the ethereal Immortal Palace is now. Furthermore, there are a total of 7 keys. Some of them are already missing. The most important inheritance key has not appeared in the world for tens of thousands of years." Shao Chen felt somewhat speechless. "In that case, isn't my key useless?" "That is natural. Otherwise, why would the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor give away such a precious item? However, it is not completely useless. Did you notice the divine characters carved on it? If you use the divine characters to cultivate soul energy, you can achieve twice the result with half the effort. It is actually very useful to you, who just advanced to Sovereign Personage. The divine characters could indeed cultivate soul energy." Back then, Shao Chen relied on reading the divine characters to temper his will of soul to the level of a great perfection Sovereign Personage. The heavenly fragrance's holy daughter's words reminded Shao Chen of something. While it was useless to the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor, it was very useful to Shao Chen. However, Shao Chen thought for a while before saying, "What is the purpose of that black figure coming to my room and stealing my key?" At the mention of this matter, the heavenly fragrance's holy daughter's expression turned somewhat grave. "I hope that he just wants to rely on the key to raise his soul energy. What if that is not the case?" The heavenly fragrance's holy daughter remained silent for a long time before sighing. "If that is not the case, then there will be great trouble. It will be a boundless calamity that will affect the entire martial epoch. A transcendent grade soul tool like the Wings of Time should not have appeared in the world." Shao Chen understood that the heavenly fragrance's holy daughter was not exaggerating. If someone really opened the doors to the ethereal immortal palace and the Wings of Time appeared, the heavenly fragrance's holy daughter's words would break. The fragile balance between the righteous Tao and the demonic Tao would immediately break. The previous great war between the righteous factions and the demonic factions had already destroyed the heavenly realm, severely weakening the martial epoch. If there was another great war between the righteous factions and the demonic factions, it would be hard to say whether the martial epoch would still exist. It would not be an exaggeration to call it a calamity. The heavenly fragrance's holy daughter said after some thought, "However, don't overthink. I don't believe that someone can gather all 7 keys. No one even knows what the inheritance key looks like. The ethereal immortal palace is like its name. It will probably remain ethereal forever." Shao Chen thought about it and felt that this was a groundless worry. It was just a black figure coming to steal the key, yet the two connected it to the calamity of the martial epoch. As they spoke, the sky turned bright without them realizing it. When the sun rose, the blazing sun shone with a fiery light and shone on the heavenly fragrance's residence. Such an intense sun only existed in the desolate sea. "Your Highness the Holy Daughter, Senior Chui is here. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's reward for young Master Shao is also here." Just at this moment, a heavenly fragrance disciple came to report. Shao Chen felt slightly surprised. He recalled that the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor said yesterday that anyone who entered the Wine King contest could obtain one of his treasures. Unexpectedly, Shao Chen had one as well. "I'm looking for you. I won't be going." The heavenly fragrance's holy daughter smiled faintly and took her leave. Chapter 2058. After the holy daughter left, Chu Xiang led Shao Chen to meet old Chui. Shao Chen. When old Chui saw Shao Chen, he walked over with a wide smile. It was clear that he was very excited. "Congratulations! When you go back, help me ask old Seven. Tell him that an old friend in Peach Blossom City misses him," old Chui said in a somewhat choked voice. After waiting for his old friend for 30 years, all he got was a cup of old wine. However, in the end, Shao Chen still helped Grandpa Seven fulfill his long-cherished wish. Shao Chen won the Wine King contest and even defeated his old rival, Great Master Yuanfei, resolving the knot in his heart. Shao Chen nodded and said, "Definitely. Keep this well. The City Lord and I chose it for you. The City Lord likes your heartburn a lot." Old Chui took out a brocade box and solemnly handed it to Shao Chen. "What is it?" Just as Shao Chen was about to open the box, old Chui pressed down on his hand and smiled. "There's no rush to open it. Open it when you go back. Also, help me give this Heavenly Origin Pill to Old Seven." The Heavenly Origin Pill was used by cultivators to extend their lifespans when they were nearing the end. It was a rank 5 heaven-ranked medicinal pill, something worth cities. Shao Chen felt slightly startled. It looked like old Chui and Grandpa Seven had a deep friendship. Old Chui even gave such a precious medicinal pill to Shao Chen. "Haha. I won't stay any longer. I still have to help you deliver the collections of the others." After chatting for a while, old Chui performed a cupped fist salute and took his leave to deliver the collections of the other winners of the Wine King contest. Senior Chui, please wait. Just as old Chui was about to leave, Chu Xiang called out to him, sending a voice projection. Old Chui's expression immediately changed drastically. To think that there is such a thing. To think that someone dares to barge into the Heavenly Fragrance's residence in Peach Blossom City. He is simply lawless. Don't worry. I will do as Miss Chu said. Old Chui left in a rush with a somewhat angry expression. However, this left Xiao Chen somewhat confused. Chu Xiang, what did you say to Senior Chui? Chu Xiang smiled and said, since Senior Sister said that, the person from last night must be a cultivator who participated in the Wine King contest during the day. Just nice, we can let Chui Lao test the waters and see who's injured, who doesn't dare to appear, and who's worthy of suspicion. Xiao Chen said softly, it's better not to spread this matter. Don't worry, I've already instructed Chui Lao to keep this a secret. Back in his room, Xiao Chen opened the brocade box. Inside was a jade strip and a beast horn. This, Xiao Chen picked up the beast horn and examined it. He was shocked to discover that it was the heartburn recipe that he had given the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor. It was only after a long while that he regained his senses. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor truly lived up to his character. He had never thought of taking advantage of Xiao Chen, returning the recipe. However, it helped him shoulder all the danger. Everyone knew that Xiao Chen had publicly given the recipe to Peach Blossom City. However, they did not know that he had secretly given it to Xiao Chen. Going back and forth had saved Xiao Chen a lot of trouble. As for the other jade slip, Xiao Chen placed it on his forehead, and many cryptic mantras entered his mind. It was the rare eye technique, the Candle Dragon Eyes. Xiao Chen used his Ice Great Tao energy and Soul energy at the same time to imitate the Candle Dragon Eyes. Once he activated it, he could seal his opponent in ice. Could seal not just the physical body but the soul as well. This was both an eye technique and a soul technique. Its offensive power was extremely strong, catching others off guard. Think about it. In the middle of a battle, the opponent was imprisoned by you. Even if he could freeze his opponent for only 1 second, it would be sufficient for Xiao Chen to kill his opponent hundreds of times. The scarier thing was that even if this eye technique broke the ice seal, the Candle Dragon Eyes would keep an eye on the other party, interfering with the other party's movement technique and veritable essence energy circulation. The only flaw of this eye technique was that it was somewhat troublesome to execute. It was very hard to execute instantly. However, this Candle Dragon Eyes was very suitable for Xiao Chen. It looked like the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor could tell that Xiao Chen had 3 Great Tao. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor used the Ice Great Tao less, so he chose this eye technique for Xiao Chen to make use of the Ice Great Tao. With the Dragon Race bloodline, it would be much easier for Xiao Chen to execute this eye technique, achieving twice the results with half the effort. When the sun set, Chui Lao returned to the Heavenly Fragrance's residence and informed Xiao Chen and Chu Xiang of the results of his probing. The Heavenly Slaughter Sect's Wang Yun is missing. A Heavenly Slaughter Sect elder received the items on his behalf. The Ice Snow Mountain Manor's Yihan already left the city. Pei Shaoxian seems to be injured. He said that something went wrong while he was cultivating. Aside from these 3, the others are rather normal and are not suspicious. Xiao Chen entered deep thought. Then, he asked, what about the profound heaven's holy son, Wenren Yu? This person should be the least suspicious. He took the initiative to stay and chat with me for a long time. I did not notice anything strange, Chui Lao said honestly, not hiding anything. Chu Xiang said, it looks like the suspects are Wang Yun, Yihan, and Pei Shaoxian. Pei Shaoxian is the most suspicious. Once something goes wrong in a demonic Tao sect, the backlash is extremely severe. He should be recuperating in closed-door cultivation. Why would he need to come out personally? Xiao Chen remained silent, not saying anything. Could it be Pei Shaoxian? If so, this person is rather horrifying. He appears crazy on the surface, but he is so scheming. In the following days, Xiao Chun had the innate fragrance disciples send Iron Egg back alone. Then, he remained in the Heavenly Fragrance's residence. During the day, he sparred with Xiao Chun, practicing his saber technique. At night, he practiced his eye technique, the candle dragon eyes. Once he succeeded, this eye technique would become a powerful killing move that rivaled the divine lightning eye. 7 days later, Xiao Chun said goodbye to the Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter and left the residence. Before Xiao Chun left, the Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter said, "Young Master Xiao, please take care of yourself. If you need help, you can contact me at any time." "Many thanks," Chu Xiang said somewhat reluctantly. "How unfortunate. I do not know when we can meet again after parting with young Master Xiao this time." Xiao Chun smiled and said, "Tell me how to get to the Heavenly Fragrance. I can go and see you." The location of the Heavenly Fragrance Holy Land had always been a mystery. No one knew. Even during the previous war between the righteous factions and demonic factions, the Black Dragon King had searched many times but returned empty-handed. Xiao Chen's words were just a form of mockery. "In your dreams." Chu Xiang covered her mouth as she laughed. Her laughter was as melodious and pleasing as before. "Goodbye. Chu Xiang, help me send young Master Xiao off." Chu Xiang sent Xiao Chen out of the peach blossom garden. Then, Xiao Chen grew increasingly smaller in her vision until he vanished. Only then did Chu Xiang sigh and turn to leave. The return journey was much smoother than Xiao Chen imagined. The journey was calm and peaceful. Aside from some blind ferocious beasts in the desolate sea, there were no other disturbances. There were no surprises or dangers. 7 days later, the Azure Mountain appeared before Xiao Chen. The ancient and mysterious Azure Mountain rose steeply from the ground, enduring thousands of years of worship from the surrounding villages for 5,000 kilometers around. The ancient and mysterious Green Mountain rose steeply from the ground, enduring the worship of the surrounding villages for thousands of years. The momentum that was originally rising came to an abrupt halt at the peak of the mountain. The Azure Mountain was still there, but where was the dragon's head? When Xiao Chen reached the Azure Mountain, the village would be close. He would be able to rush back before sunset. The journey was overly peaceful. However, Xiao Chen was not used to it. Originally, he thought that even if the black figure did not seek trouble for him, the Hound Lion Empire's crown prince, Xiahou Wu, and the heavenly slaughter sex Wang Yun would not let him off so easily. Along the way, Xiao Chen was very cautious, not daring to be careless. Who knew, the two did not make a move. After thinking about it, there was only one possibility. The Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter secretly helped him deal with this matter. Otherwise, given Wang Yun and Xiahou Wu's characters, they would not easily seek trouble for him. This is good. Xiao Chen withdrew his gaze and returned his attention to the Azure Mountain. Whoosh! Gently pushing off with his feet, Xiao Chen's figure moved like lightning, heading for the Azure Mountain. This mountain seemed to have a magical power. Every time, it would attract Xiao Chen's attention. After looking at it for a while, he could not help rushing over. 10 kilometers away from the Azure Mountain, Xiao Chen stopped. Xiao Chen recalled the strange encounter when he first touched the Azure Mountain and the uncontrollable demonic qi covering his body when he climbed to the summit. The more taboo something was, the more it tugged at one's heartstrings. Xiao Chen considered himself a calm person. However, when facing the taboo mountain, he found it hard to suppress the impulse in his heart. After hesitating for a while, Xiao Chen raised his feet and walked over step by step. Xiao Chen could cross the distance of 10 kilometers in the blink of an eye. However, Xiao Chen walked very slowly. A strange force field spread around the entire Azure Mountain. The air was filled with hatred, rage, killing intent, pain, and other negative emotions. Among them, despair was the heaviest. In the eyes of ordinary people, this should be an out-and-out demonic mountain. However, Xiao Chen's intuition told him that there was something strange here, hiding a startling secret. "Don't touch it!" Just as Xiao Chen was about to touch the azure mountain again, someone stretched out a hand from behind and placed it on his shoulder. Chapter 2059. The atmosphere near the azure mountain was strange in the first place. Suddenly, someone appeared and patted Xiao Chen's shoulder. Xiao Chen, who already felt nervous, immediately turned around and threw a palm strike as if he faced a great enemy. Bang! The two palms clashed, and Xiao Chen knocked that person back. When he landed, he paled slightly and grimaced in pain, appearing extremely unbearable. Qin Zhuolin. When Xiao Chen saw this person's appearance, he felt startled. Why is he here? He hurriedly flew forward and walked over with quick step. Are you all right? Qin Zhuolin smiled bitterly and said, It has only been half a year, and your strength has increased a little too much. This is truly incredible. Half a year ago, Xiao Chen was still a holy venerate. When they met again, Xiao Chen had already broken through the shackles of sovereign personage, surpassing initial perfection sovereign personage and reaching small perfection sovereign personage. This is all thanks to the heartburn you gave me. I don't know whether to thank you or blame you. Heartburn can only be used once in my lifetime, and I wasted it at the holy venerate realm. Without the accumulations of heartburn, it would have been very difficult for Xiao Chen to break through to small perfection sovereign personage in one go. Qin Zhuolin smiled abashedly and said, I did not expect heartburn to be so strong. Sorry. Since you hit me earlier, we are even, right? Let's not talk about this. Why are you here? Haha. I've been waiting for you for a few days already. Let's talk after we return to the village. Alright. When Xiao Chen returned to the villagers welcomed him like he was a hero, welcoming him warmly. Iron Egg, who had returned early, had already told everyone about Xiao Chen winning the Wine King contest. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor had already declared that anyone who dared to touch their village within 100 years would become an enemy of Peach Blossom City. Given the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's strength and prestige, the villagers would no longer have to worry about bandits or demonic Dao factions invading them. They no longer had to worry about the thing that they feared the most. How could they not be happy? After the commotion, Xiao Chen, Sang, and Qin Zhuolin gathered together. What exactly is the Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter looking for you for help? Xiao Chen asked. Qin Zhuolin took a sip of wine and said after some thought, She wants me to help her find the corpse of the previous Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter and bring back a jade pendant. Xiao Chen's thoughts raced and he quickly guessed, the body of the previous generation's saintess should be in an underground tomb somewhere. Otherwise, she wouldn't have asked for your help. Smart. Even the Holy Lord of Tianxiang wouldn't dare to enter this place. The stronger one is, the greater the danger. Qin Zhuolin smiled faintly. Then, he looked at Xiao Chen and said, Guess where the remains are? It's just outside the village, under that well. These few days, if you have nothing to do, go there. Before Xiao Chen could say anything, Sang spoke up from the side. Really? Qin Zhuolin said awkwardly, Indeed. The corpse of the previous Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter is in that well. 50 years ago, the Heaven Dragon of your dragon clan seemed to have discovered a shocking secret in this place. Not only did it attract the attention of many people, but it also offended someone that it should not have offended. When it fled into the well, many people who did not know what was going on wanted to follow and take a look. In the end, they were all trapped in there. The infamy of this well spread throughout the desolate sea. From then on, it became one of the most horrifying forbidden lands in the desolate sea. Xiao Chen remained silent. Indeed, he had not expected the Heavenly Fragrance's holy daughter to do something related to this well. After a long time, Xiao Chen said, I went into this well before. You came out? This time, it was Qin Zhuolin's turn to be shocked. He looked at Xiao Chen and said, This is really shocking. In the past, there were fearless geomasters who wanted to go in and check it out. However, no one came out. Xiao Chen raised his wine cup and drained it in one go. Then, he revealed an expression of lingering fear. After some thought, he said, "There is a heavenly Tao killing formation inside. The killing formation perfectly blends with the environment, preventing people from feeling any danger. Everyone who died in there showed shock on their faces, not knowing how they died. I did not go too deep and only managed to come out due to some fortuitous encounters." Xiao Chen told Qin Zhuolin everything that happened that day, holding nothing back. After Qin Zhuolin heard that, he thought for a long time. Then, he smiled bitterly and said, "To think that it is a heavenly Tao killing formation. Had I known, I would not have agreed to her request. It looks like the heavenly fragrance Holy Land's people went down before. However, they were already scared out of their wit. Brother Qin, can you tell me honestly how much do you know about this place?" Xiao Chen asked directly as he looked at Qin Zhuolin, not wanting to beat around the bush. Be it the Azure Mountain that had lost its dragon head or the mysterious and unfathomable ancient well, Xiao Chen urgently wanted to know the answer. He had a feeling that as long as he solved these two mysteries, he would be able to figure out why the blue dragon race was destroyed. Qin Zhuolin was stunned for a while. Then, he said, "I don't know much either. I only heard from my master that the desolate sea was not like this in the past. In the past, desolate slaves could be seen roaming the desolate sea even during the day. Look at how desolate the desolate sea is now, right? The desolate sea used to be even scarier and more dilapidated than this. The corpses and blood of the righteous and demonic sects turned this place into hell on earth. However, because of two people, because of their fight, the entire desolate sea's terrain changed." Xiao Chen asked, "Which two people?" The desolate sea was vast and boundless, even larger than the eastern region and northern region combined. Just because of a fight between two people, the landscape had completely changed. Just how powerful was that person? One was the dragon race's dragon emperor Xiaoyun, and the other was a mysterious existence without a name. Dragon Emperor Xiaoyun? There doesn't seem to be such a dragon emperor. I once checked the dragon race's records of emperors, and there was no such dragon emperor. Xiao Chen's memory was not bad. If this person was truly strong, he should have a deep impression of him. There isn't? I don't know about that either. My master told me. My sect only has a single inheritor, so my master should not lie to me. However, that does not matter. I will only tell you what I know." Xiao Chen nodded and said, "Speak." For some reason, this dragon emperor Xiao Yun wanted to sacrifice the entire desolate sea. TSK. Think about it. Back then, the war between the righteous and demonic factions had just ended. Who knows how many sovereign emperor and foe god corpses were buried in the desolate sea? There were even more sovereign personage corpses. If he really succeeded in the blood sacrifice, how horrifying would it be? So, someone came to stop him, and the two started fighting. Qin Zhuolin continued, "No one knows who won. In any case, the desolate sea became like this after that." Xiao Chen entered deep thought. After a while, he asked, "What does this have to do with this place?" My master speculated that this towering mountain might be the totem that Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun set up back then, using the totem as the formation core. Then, he used the entire desolate sea as the formation core and carried out the blood sacrifice. Qin Zhuolin smiled and said, "Of course, that master of mine is not very reliable. What he said is something passed down by his ancestors. Take Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun for example. Even you said that there was no such thing, so don't take it too seriously. I really don't believe that someone could use the entire desolate sea as the formation core and lay a blood sacrifice formation. How strong would that person have to be? However, I'm only telling you what I know. Hey Xiao Chen?" As Qin Zhuolin spoke, he discovered that Xiao Chen was in a daze, not listening to him at all. Sang saw some clues and already guessed some things. The Emperor record did not have any records of Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun. However, that did not mean that there was no such dragon emperor in the divine dragon empire's history. If this dragon emperor Xiao Yun was the blue dragon race's dragon emperor, then everything made sense. Xiao Chen must have guessed this, which was why he was in a daze. "What are you thinking about?" Xiao Chen recovered his wits and said, "Nothing. Go on, go on." Flabbergasted, Qin Zhuolin said, "I already said everything. What else do you want me to say?" Feeling somewhat embarrassed, Xiao Chen could only change the topic. "Who exactly is the person who fought with Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun?" Qin Zhuolin shrugged and said, "Who knows? There are always some people in the great thousand realms who hide their strength. Take you for example. Who could imagine that you were just a holy venerate half a year ago? Now you are already a small perfection sovereign personage." Now that the topic returned to himself, Xiao Chen stopped asking. However, he felt exceptionally curious about Qin Zhuolin's identity. To think that Qin Zhuolin knew such a secret in such detail. "Since you are here, I will not linger. After drinking this cup of wine, I will be going down. I hope that I can return alive," Qin Zhuolin said resolutely as he drained the wine in one go. Qin Zhuolin downed the wine in one go and put down the wine cup. He still wants to go to the cold Yin Springs ancient well? Chapter 2060. Despite knowing that the heavenly Tao killing formation was at the bottom of the ancient well, Qin Zhuolin still wanted to go down. The blood moon hung high in the sky beside the ancient well. Qin Zhuolin made up his mind to go down and investigate. Aside from the fact that he had already promised the heavenly fragrance's holy daughter, Qin Zhuolin had also decided to investigate. Firstly, he was confident in his own strength, and secondly, he wanted to see what was down there. Thinking about how Zhang Xian even dared to touch the ancient tomb of a Hellguard, Zhang Xian felt a little relieved. "I'll go down with you." Looking at the reflection of the blood moon in the well, Xiao Chen said softly. Finding it strange, Qin Zhuolin asked, "Are you sure?" "Yes." Originally, Xiao Chen planned to explore the ancient well after he broke through to sovereign personage. Now, he was already a small perfection sovereign personage. Since Qin Zhuolin insisted on going down, she might as well go down with him. At least, she could take care of him. Qin Zhuolin thought for a while before nodding. "That's fine. After all, you went down once. However, think about it carefully. You might not be as lucky as you were last time. Even if you don't go, I will go down alone." Qin Zhuolin looked at Xiao Chen strangely. Xiao Chen should be hiding something from him. However, that did not matter. Everyone had their own secret. Wasn't he the same? "Let's go." The two of them jumped into the ancient well one after the other. The spring water was clear, and the reflection in the water was a cold blood moon. It looked like the two of them were rushing toward the blood moon. Thump! Not long after, the two of them dived into the water. The cold air assaulted them, instantly penetrating their internal organs. The two people in the water couldn't help but shiver. There was a thick yin qi in the chill. If it was an ordinary person, they would not be able to stay for long after jumping in. Otherwise, they would be poisoned by the cold poison. If it was light, their internal organs would be damaged. If it was heavy, they would die on the spot. After swimming for an hour, Xiao Chen and Qin Zhuolin leaped out of the water at the same time. Their complexions were pale. In front of him was a deep karst cave with crystal-glazed stalactites hanging upside down. Be careful of the stalactites above. These stalactites are even sharper than divine weapons. Many people were pierced through by them and frozen to death on the spot. Xiao Chen came once and reminded Qin Zhuolin. Qin Zhuolin looked around but did not see anything strange. However, he, who had been dealing with evil spirits underground for many years, felt a deep chill in his heart. His intuition told him that this seemingly ordinary cave was actually filled with killing intent. Unheard of. After a while, Qin Zhuolin shook his head in disappointment. It seemed like his previous experience was useless here. Walking on the surface of the underground spring, the two of them swam upstream. I recall that your dragon race's heaven dragon only disappeared 20 years ago, right? Qin Zhuolin asked. Yes. After he lost to the purple gold dragon emperor, he was imprisoned in the starry heavens dragon prison. Qin Zhuolin entered deep thought. Then, he said, that means that this path is not a dead end. I'm somewhat curious now. Just what kind of scene is the source of this spring? Who set up this place and drew out a cold spring? The two of them were extremely cautious and did not dare to be careless. After a while, Xiao Chen called out to Qin Zhuolin. Previously I came to this place. After the spring flowed, I managed to leave by following the spring. I don't know what I will run into if I go any further. If we go any further, we might not have a chance to turn back. Qin Zhuolin looked around and continued, the heavenly Tao killing formation's killing intent is untraceable. This is really difficult. Qin Zhuolin sighed softly and continued walking forward. As the two walked upstream, they ran into corpses sealed in ice by cold qi. However, they were not the people the heavenly fragrance's holy daughter was looking for. There's someone underwater. Qin Zhuolin suddenly came out of the water. Xiao Chen went forward to take a look and saw a frozen corpse at the bottom of the spring. The corpse was perfectly fine. Even the expression on its face at the moment it died had not faded. It was an expression of bewilderment and astonishment. This was a sovereign emperor who died under completely unexpected circumstances. A cold, sinister wind blew, covering the two in a faint layer of frost. Let's go. The two had seen too many frozen corpses and were already numb to it. They sighed softly and continued walking. The cold qi underground turned increasingly cold. However, it was still bearable and not a major problem. Aside from the cold, there was nothing strange. The two even started to feel bored. Crack. At some point in time, Qin Zhuolin's right leg, which was about to raise, gave off a crisp sound. Qin Zhuolin's bone actually broke. Before Qin Zhuolin could react, he felt boundless pain. Qin Zhuolin, who was walking on the water surface, fell in and instantly sank into the water. After entering the water, Qin Zhuolin was horrified to discover that the frost on his body turned into ice when it came in contact with water. Before Qin Zhuolin could react, his entire body was sealed in ice. Then, he slowly sank to the bottom with a confused and helpless expression. Damn it! Danger came so suddenly. Without any warning, Qin Zhuolin fell for it. Xiao Chen felt horror in his heart. However, he could not think too much right now. He ferociously threw a palm strike and parted the spring water. Then, he stretched out his hand and pulled up the frozen Qin Zhuolin. Xiao Chen did not hesitate to throw a palm strike, instantly shattering the ice on Qin Zhuolin's body. Phew! Qin Zhuolin let out a long breath. His complexion paled as fear lingered in his heart. Qin Zhuolin had no idea when he fell for it. It's a scratch. Xiao Chen checked and discovered a scratch on Qin Zhuolin's right leg. This caused the cold qi to seep in and deepen without him realizing it. The wound was very small and cold qi filled this place. If one did not pay attention, one would not notice it. After a while, Qin Zhuolin's complexion returned to normal. He had not suffered any fatal injuries. After consuming medicinal pills, he recovered quickly. This was how this place worked. One could not sense where the danger was. When one startled awake, one would discover that one was about to die for no reason. Most of the time, the scariest thing was not how strong the enemy was or how terrifying the desolate slave was. The scariest thing was that one did not know how to defend against it. This place was no different from an ordinary underground karst cave. I really got careless this time. Qin Zhuolin frowned heavily as he sighed. I ran into the scariest desolate slave in the desolate sea. I even went to the graves of foe gods several times and managed to escape unscathed. Even if it were the evil burial grounds of the ancient demonic lords, I would still be able to deal with them. But this place... Qin Zhuolin revealed a sense of defeat as he spoke. Qin Zhuolin's long-held confidence suffered a great setback in this ancient well. If not for Shao Chen, Qin Zhuolin would have died here. The cold qi had seeped into his soul and sealed his physical body and eyes. He could not execute any means at all. Shao Chen finally understood why even sovereign emperors died for no reason in this place. Shao Chen looked to the front and saw darkness. He did not know how much longer he had to walk to the spring's source. If we continue like this without thinking of a countermeasure, we will die here sooner or later, Shao Chen sighed. This was just his intuition, there was no reason for it. How should we deal with it? No matter how horrifying a killing formation was, there would be a formation core, a node, and a layout. As long as one had these, one could find a way to break a killing formation, no matter how terrifying it was. However, there is nothing in this place. It looks no different from an ordinary karst cave. Qin Zhuolin spoke somewhat helplessly. However, it was the truth, and no one could refute it. Shao Chen did not reply. He entered deep thought as he carefully looked at the surroundings. Then, he said, I don't think that is the case. As long as it is a killing formation, there will be a formation core, and something to lay the formation. The heavenly Tao killing formation only perfectly blends all these into nature, preventing us from noticing it. However, not being able to notice it does not mean that there is none. Qin Zhuolin said seriously, the activation of any formation requires energy. Normally, it is spirit jades or divine crystals. The more profound ones can use the energy that originally exists underground. However, I do not sense any energy fluctuations here. Hence, even if you find what you mentioned, you will not be able to break this formation. Inspiration flashed in Shao Chen's mind. He asked, you mean that as long as we find the energy source that activates the heavenly Tao killing formation, we can break this formation? I can't say that I can break it, but I will definitely not die here. I am at least confident of that. Shao Chen said seriously, I think I know how this heavenly Tao killing formation is activated. However, why can't you sense it at all? What is it? Chapter 2061. What is it? Qin Zhuolin looked at Shao Chen curiously. How did Shao Chen know about a formation source that even Qin Zhuolin did not know about? Qin Zhuolin had guessed many things. This place had cold qi that lingered all year round. Could it be that there was an ice-attributed natural treasure buried here to drive the heavenly Tao killing formation? For example, the blood weapon stone, netherworld profound water, and ancient demonic ice were all extremely strong natural treasures that rivaled divine crystals. However, after thinking about it, Qin Zhuolin quickly rejected this possibility. That was simply impossible. The energy contained within these natural oddities was extremely shocking. Forget about deliberately searching for them. Not to mention searching for them, one would be able to sense them with just a little perception. However, there was no similar aura in this place. This place was completely an ordinary underground karst cave. Apart from being too cold, which piece of land in the great wilderness wasn't cold and gloomy? Qin Zhuolin had many similar thoughts, but he rejected them all. Qin Zhuolin waited for Shao Chen's answer. He looked forward to Shao Chen's reply. At this moment, Shao Chen already felt very certain. His thoughts were very clear as he said, actually, you know about the energy source of this heavenly Tao killing formation. You even see it every day. What? I know about it too? I see it every day? Shao Chen, this is not a good time to joke. Qin Zhuolin showed a grave expression as he looked coldly at Shao Chen. Clearly, he was not satisfied with this answer. Shao Chen said calmly, I'm not joking. The energy source of this heavenly Tao killing formation is the blood moon that you see every day. This joke is not funny. Qin Zhuolin felt somewhat disappointed. He did not want to dwell on Shao Chen's answer. It was better to think about it himself. How could a blood moon in the sky be possible? What was a moon? The moon was the moon star. There were billions of stars in the great thousand realms. However, there were only two, the sun star and the moon star. For millions of years, epochs came and went. However, the sun star and the moon star never perished. They had existed since the primal chaos broke apart. A strong foe god could destroy many stars with a wave of their hand. However, they had to remain insignificant before the sun star and the moon star. Have you ever wondered why the blood moon can't be seen anywhere else in the central great realm aside from the desolate sea? The moon waxes and wanes. However, since the desolate sea's blood moon was born, it has always been a full scarlet moon hanging high in the sky. Xiao Chen was not surprised at Qin Zhuolin's expression of disbelief. However, he wasn't joking. He had his own reasons. Why can't I sense the origin of this heavenly Tao-killing formation? That was because its energy source was in the sky. You and I are in this underground cavern, so we naturally can't sense it. The original range of this heavenly Tao-killing array might be much wider than you and I think. It's just that for some reason, it didn't shrink to its current size and only exists in this underground cave. Originally, I did not think of this. However, you told me today that Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun used the Azure Mountain as the formation core and the Desolate Sea as the formation diagram. That's why I thought of this. More importantly, Qin Zhuolin's expression slowly turned grave. He looked at Xiao Chen and said, "Continue." More importantly, there is a little girl called Qin Chen in the village. She has an extreme Yin body. Long ago, it was said that one could see a blood moon in the ancient well during the day. Previously, I did not understand why there would be a blood moon in the ancient well during the day. Just now, I finally understood. Qin Zhuolin entered deep thought. His thoughts slowly cleared, but he felt a chill run down his spine. If all this was true, then how strong was the person who set this up? Did the blood moon in the desolate sea's night sky exist for tens of thousands of years because of this person? Even if this person no longer existed in the tens of thousands, he still influenced the entire desolate sea. No wonder. No wonder the Heaven Dragon cultivator who discovered the secret of this place was hunted down 50 years ago. However, there was no way out now. Qin Zhuolin said seriously, "If this is the energy source of this heavenly Tao-killing formation, then the blood moon above us might be a formation within a formation. This heavenly Tao-killing formation might be part of Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun's blood sacrifice formation. This is somewhat problematic. However, it is not impossible." Xiao Chen felt stunned when he heard that. Unexpectedly, Qin Zhuolin really had a solution. What solution? It's obviously unrealistic to crack it, but since we know the energy source of the formation, we should be able to use it. However, since we know the energy source of the formation, we can avoid becoming a target. We can go all out in this underground cavern. Finding the corpse of the previous heavenly fragrance's holy daughter will also be easy. The stronger one was in this killing formation, the faster one would die. Along the way, the two moved very carefully. It could be said that their hands and feet were tied. Even though they were strong, they did not dare to go all out, feeling very depressed. If they could go all out, given the two's movement techniques, they would be several times faster when they explored the place. However, that is only if your guess is correct. Xiao Chen said, "Right now, you have no other choice but to trust me." "Trust me." Qin Zhuolin said only one simple word. Then, he sat cross-legged on the water surface without saying anything else. Qin Zhuolin closed his eyes and continuously formed profound hand seals with his hands. As Qin Zhuolin's hand seals changed, a star chart appeared behind him, slowly expanding. At some point in time, Xiao Chen looked up. The rock above him had vanished. All he saw was a vast and boundless starry heavens, looking incredibly miraculous. Stars flickered, and starlight leaped about continuously, slowly forming an even vaster star chart. Sweat continuously dripped down Qin Zhuolin's forehead. Xiao Chun could feel the other party's soul energy draining rapidly. Aside from driving the star chart, Qin Zhuolin's soul energy was mostly searching for something. Buzz. All of a sudden, a few stars in the star chart loosened up a little and fell straight down. Xiao Chun felt this to be exceptionally real, like real stars falling from the universe. Just at this moment, Qin Zhuolin suddenly opened his eyes. He appeared somewhat fatigued, but he could not hide the excitement in his eyes. Xiao Chun, you guessed right. This heavenly Tao killing formation does indeed use the blood moon as its energy source. It is too vast and inconceivable. I have never seen such a large formation in my life. Qin Zhuolin stood up and wiped the sweat off his forehead. Then, he said, the benefits are boundless. Let's go. As long as we stand on the starlight, we will be safe. There is not much time. My endless cycle star chart cannot last for long. Whoosh. Not daring to delay, the two executed their movement techniques as they stepped on the starlight falling from above. Then, they quickly advanced through the underground cavern. Now there was nothing to worry about. The two moved 10 times faster than before. They quickly swept past the corpses sealed in ice at the bottom of the spring. The efficiency was also many times faster than before. Is it that one? 1 hour later, Xiao Chun took 3 steps back and pointed to a beautiful frozen corpse at the bottom of the spring. Whoosh! Qin Zhuolin landed beside Xiao Chun and took out a painting to compare. Then, he nodded and said, "That's her. Let's see if there is a pendant at her waist." The two's gazes landed on the frozen corpse's waist. Indeed, they discovered a white jade pendant, looking simple and beautiful. Boom! Xiao Chun threw a palm strike and parted the spring water, taking out the ice beauty. After the two came out of the water, they came into closer contact with this ice beauty. Their breathing became somewhat ragged. How unfortunate! Such a beauty died in this heavenly Tao killing formation for no reason. I wonder why she chased me into this ancient well back then. After carefully examining the heavenly fragrance's holy daughter, even Qin Zhuolin could not help showing a slight change in his expression. When the holy daughter was alive, practically no one could see her appearance clearly. The mission that the heavenly fragrance's holy daughter gave them was completed. Next, the two of them had to choose whether to go forward or to turn back. Previously, before Qin Zhuolin found the circulation path of the heavenly Tao killing formation, the two had no way out and could only go forward. Now that they found the circulation path, they had the capital to go back. What do you think? Qin Zhuolin asked Xiao Chun. If he was alone, he might not have the courage to continue forward. Let's go back. Perhaps there is a great fortuitous encounter waiting for us ahead. However, preserving our lives is more important. Since when did your hand become so cold? Xiao Chun could not help asking when he felt Qin Zhuolin's frighteningly cold hand on his shoulder. Finding this strange, Qin Zhuolin said, "I was going to ask you why your hand became so cold." Before Qin Zhuolin finished speaking, the two's expressions changed at the same time. They turned their heads and saw that the ice on the holy daughter, who was hovering above the water, had melted at some point. The holy daughter revealed her true appearance and placed her hands on the two. Just as the two of them turned around, the frozen saintess suddenly opened her eyes. Chapter 2062. Before the two could react, the previous generation holy daughter lifted them up and slammed them into each other. The two's bodies crashed into each other. Qin Zhuolin felt so much pain that he nearly teared up. Xiao Chun's physical body was much stronger than his. Even if Xiao Chun could not control his acquired divine body, it was already as strong as an inherited Tao tool. After the collision, the saintess's corpse flung the two of them away. The complete star chart above instantly shattered. No more starlight fell to form a path for the two. Bang! The two crashed into the wall and embedded themselves in it. Cold chi from underground immediately spread out from the cracks in the soil. Plop! Plop! The more terrifying thing was that the many corpses sealed in the spring water all flew out of the water. The ice on the corpses slowly melted, revealing their true appearances. Quickly leave. These corpses have all turned into desolate slaves. We should leave before they fully recover. Qin Zhuolin shouted a reminder to Xiao Chen as he struggled to get out of the wall. Without needing Qin Zhuolin's instructions, Xiao Chen already sensed the severity of the situation. His vital qi surged. The walls around him were all about to shatter. Xiao Chen's expression remained calm as he quickly scanned the area. He discovered that these people were sovereign emperors when they were alive. After turning into desolate slaves, aside from their auras, they did not retain their full strength. It looked like it was as Qin Zhuolin said. These desolate slaves had not fully recovered their strength. For now, they were only as strong as a small perfection sovereign personage. However, their numbers were frightening. This was good news. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The many desolate slaves, who had recovered their true forms, locked their gazes on the two. Cold killing qi immediately surged over. The air turned viscous, greatly limiting Xiao Chen's ability to bring out his strength. An ordinary small perfection sovereign personage would be immobilized on the spot, instantly torn to shreds by these desolate slaves. Eye technique, Candle Dragon Eyes. In an instant, Xiao Chen executed the Candle Dragon Eyes. A spark ignited in Xiao Chen's eyes, and a terrifying candle dragon image appeared behind him. Only the head of the candle dragon was visible, but it already gave off a terrifying aura. Boom! Torch Dragon's eyes snapped open as two sparks burned in his eyes like candlelight. Xiao Chen's ice great Tao energy and soul energy drained continuously. A chill instantly swept out everywhere he looked. Ka 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 ka. The desolate slaves that just struggled free were sealed in ice again. Even the gushing spring water under their feet froze into an ice river. Xiao Chen glanced over and saw Qin Zhuolin, who was currently entangled with the Holy Daughter. Compared to him, the other party was in a much more pathetic state. For some reason, his hands and feet were tied, and he did not unleash his full strength. Bang! Transforming into a bolt of lightning, Xiao Chen kicked the Saintess away. Without stopping, Zhang Xian leaped forward and stomped down on the other party. The moment Xiao Chen's feet touched the ground, he drew his tyrant saber. In the time it took for a spark to fly, the 2-foot-wide saber stabbed into the other party's forehead. Traces of ice-cold blood flowed out from the wound, but the blood was a strange black color. He bent down and pulled the pendant from the Saintess's waist. Clearly, Xiao Chen could not bring the Saintess's corpse back. If he could bring the pendant back, he would have fulfilled the heavenly fragrance's holy daughter's request. You are really ruthless. How can you not show mercy before an absolute beauty? Qin Zhuolin said, somewhat flabbergasted as he walked over. No wonder Qin Zhuolin's hands were tied. It turned out that this was the reason. Xiao Chen had to admit that Qin Zhuolin's taste was somewhat heavy. No matter how cold and beautiful the Saintess was, she was still a dead person. Let's go. Xiao Chen drew his saber and blood spurted out. Then, he quickly moved forward with Qin Zhuolin. These desolate slaves were very hard to kill. They would recover soon. Right now, the two no longer had a choice. They could only charge forward, hoping to find the path that the previous generation Heaven Dragon had taken. Roar! The desolate slave holy daughter that Xiao Chen killed came back to life. She soared into the air and hovered there. A sharp roar rang out, accompanied by cold qi. A sound wave spread out. Rumble! The entire ground was shaking, and rocks kept falling from above. All kinds of unexpected dangers came one after another. The heavenly Tao killing formation circulated at full power. Chaos reigned. The entire terrain and environment changed at this moment. Countless dangers appeared. Some came from rocks above, some from old weapons hidden in the water. Sometimes a wall even appeared in front of them. Damn it! I still underestimated this heavenly Tao killing formation. Qin Zhuolin's hand seals changed continuously. He made a series of moves, forcibly restoring the changed terrain to its original state. However, it was simply too chaotic. Soon, Qin Zhuolin vomited a mouthful of blood as a weapon flew over from somewhere. When a weapon flew out of nowhere and stabbed his chest, his complexion immediately paled. On the other side, Xiao Chen did not have as many moves as Qin Zhuolin, so he was in an even more miserable state. The environment of the fourth ring was constantly changing, and each change was a life-or-death crisis. The fleeing Xiao Chen and Qin Zhuolin could not even say a few words before they were separated. Both of them were overwhelmed, unable to care about anything else. Xiao Chen no longer had any reservations. He even brought out his great desolate Ian bloodline. His dragon might shook the sky. When Xiao Chen punched, he shattered all the rocks in his way. He blasted a small mountain-sized hole in the ground. Saber lights danced wildly, and a terrifying saber chi pierced through the ground for 5,000 kilometers. Xiao Chen opened many holes, but he did not dare to move around. Even in his fluster, he did not lose his rationality. Xiao Chen continued to go against the flow of the spring water, using force to break through. He also used the Qiongqi Beast Ghost Pennant and the God Shadow Bow, two medial-grade soul tools. Although Xiao Chen was only a small perfection sovereign personage, he brought out his various trump cards at this critical moment. With Xiao Chen's might, even a great perfection sovereign personage would have to retreat, not daring to clash head-on. However, the great desolate Ian bloodline would eventually come to an end. When the bloodline power slowly faded, boundless fatigue assaulted Xiao Chen's body from all directions. Am I going to die? Right now, Xiao Chen was at his wit's end. He had already used all his trump cards. If he still could not leave the Heavenly Tao killing formations range, he would be helpless. However, it was still pitch black in front. He could not see the path. Xiao Chen did not know what dangers were hidden in the deep darkness. He also did not know how far he had to go to reach the spring's source. Gritting his teeth, Xiao Chen continued forward. Soon, he felt something strange. The demonic chi veritable essence energy in his primal core started to stir restlessly. He could not control it. Such a situation was very similar to when he climbed to the summit of the Azure Mountain and instantly fell into a state of demonic chi. The only difference was that the intensity was lower and did not make him lose his rationality. There was definitely something wrong with this abnormal situation. After being underground for so long, his demonic chi veritable essence energy had stirred restlessly. Now that it suddenly stirred, there had to be something strange. Xiao Chen rejoiced instead of feeling shocked. Right now, he was at his wit's end, already in the depths of despair. He did not fear the restlessness of the demonic chi veritable essence energy. He only feared that nothing would happen. Then, he would slowly exhaust his veritable essence energy and wait for death, becoming a desolate slave. A light flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. He could not be bothered with the restless demonic chi veritable essence energy in his body as he quickly walked forward. The strange thing was that with such a mental state, the desire to live suppressed the various negative emotions. The demonic chi veritable essence energy in Xiao Chen's body stirred terrifyingly restlessly. Whoosh! After a while, Xiao Chen's vision suddenly lit up. His eyes felt a piercing pain. Xiao Chen carefully opened his eyes again. The scene before him shocked him so much that he gaped, unable to speak. A mirror-like pool of water appeared before Xiao Chen's eyes. This pool of water was not large. However, when standing at the side, it felt vast and boundless. Xiao Chen did not even dare to breathe heavily. The pool water was clear and transparent, like a natural treasure. It was as smooth as a mirror. What was even more miraculous was the reflection of a cold, jade-like scarlet full moon at the bottom of the pool. Is this the end of the cold Yin spring? Xiao Chen wanted to think about this properly. However, the restlessness of the demonic chi in his body became increasingly terrifying. When the demonic chi veritable essence energy relaxed a little, it started a frenzied backlash. It looked like the negative emotions were about to overtake Xiao Chen's rationality. Without much time to think, Xiao Chen leaped into the pool of water. The strange thing was that the water rippled endlessly, like it was an illusion. If not for a figure appearing on the scarlet full moon at the bottom of the pool, Xiao Chen would not have thought that someone had jumped in. Chapter 2063. Plop, plop. The moment the moon entered the water, Xiao Chen's vision turned blurry. He could only see a hazy blood moon. Xiao Chen's heart thumped uncontrollably, racing endlessly. As his heart slowly increased, Xiao Chen felt incredibly uncomfortable. His heart felt like it would tear apart. In the end, I still can't escape death? Xiao Chen felt somewhat dissatisfied. It was not that he did not work hard. He had already used all sorts of means to clear the heavenly Tao killing formation. Right now, he felt somewhat helpless. If he really died here, he could only say that this was fate. Xiao Chen had gone through too many similar experiences in his life. He had already passed the gates of hell so many times that he could no longer remember them. Now that he faced death again, although he felt dissatisfied, he did not feel too much despair. What would remain after a person died? According to rumor, after advancing to Divine Vein Realm Sovereign Emperor, one would surpass the limits of a human. After the physical body died, one's will of soul would still exist. If one reached the Foe God Realm, even if one's will of soul was destroyed, one could revive as long as the divine flame remained. Unfortunately, Xiao Chen did not have that yet. In the end, a sovereign personage was still a human. At this instant, Xiao Chen thought of many things. However, he did not give up hope, continuously thinking of ways to save himself. Crack! Xiao Chen's heart pounded intensely. In the end, he failed to stop it from shattering. A drop of heart blood seeped into his chest and instantly melted into the pool. After the blood moon in the pool absorbed this drop of heart blood, it changed continuously. In the next moment, the blood moon seemed to burn in the water, releasing a resplendent red light. Xiao Chen, who did not know about this mysterious phenomenon, only felt the pool around him suddenly empty, and his heart returned to normal. The berserk demonic qi and veritable essence energy in Xiao Chen's body also calmed down. Xiao Chen found himself in the void, and his body plummeted uncontrollably. Plop! After some time, Xiao Chen crashed heavily on the ground. He felt like his bones were about to fall apart. Xiao Chen grunted as he tore off his clothes. The wound on his chest had already healed, leaving only a small part unhealed. It's not an illusion? Xiao Chen looked up and saw a blood moon hanging high in the sky. The pool was nowhere to be seen. He was in a desolate plain. There was a cliff at the end of the vast, desolate plain. Looking into the distance, there seemed to be an ancient and mysterious city on the cliff. The city towered majestically, solemn and ancient, giving off a heavy feeling. It was much more majestic than the divine dragon city that Xiao Chen had seen. None of them could compare to the city in front of them. A terrifying pressure came from afar along with the wind, making it hard for Xiao Chen, who was standing on the wasteland, to breathe. Dragon might! Xiao Chen was a little surprised to discover that this heavy feeling was actually filled with a heavy dragon might. A heavy dragon might appeared amid the vicissitudes of time. It was unknown how many years it had accumulated. What was even more surprising was that Xiao Chen was extremely familiar with this dragon's might. This was the might of a blue dragon. What is this place? Xiao Chen was extremely puzzled. There was a blood moon in the sky and an ancient dragon city on the ground. It was definitely not the desolate sea. If there was such a dragon city in the desolate sea, it would have been discovered long ago. It was still underground. However, how could one explain the lifelike blood moon in the sky underground? Xiao Chen's thoughts were somewhat chaotic. He closed his eyes and put it aside for now. Then, he sat down cross-legged and consumed a medicinal pill. Then, he focused on treating his injuries and recovering to his peak state. 4 hours later, Xiao Chen, who had an acquired body, recovered from most of his physical injuries. Veritable essence energy also filled his dried-up primal core, returning him to his peak state. Xiao Chen opened his eyes and stood up. He finally felt more at ease. Previously, Xiao Chen had been at the end of his rope. Even a star venerate could make him lose face. Now that he returned to his peak state, he felt much more at ease. As Xiao Chen looked at the distant dragon city, he entered deep thought. Then, he soared into the air above the desolate plain. Buzz! The moment Xiao Chen's feet left the ground, he felt a huge pressure. When he looked up, he knew that this pressure came from the blood moon in the sky. Enduring the rapid draining of veritable essence energy, Xiao Chen quickly arrived at the bottom of the cliff. Without hesitation, Xiao Chen started climbing the cliff. No matter what, a blue dragon ancient city suddenly appeared in this strange place. No matter what, he had to figure it out. Perhaps his fortuitous encounter to get out was here. The rocks on the cliff were as sharp as knives. As Xiao Chen stared at the blood moon's might and pressure, he climbed up with much difficulty. By the time Xiao Chen reached the top, his forehead was already covered in sweat. However, he did not have time to wipe it off. The scene before Xiao Chen stunned him. Outside the ancient dragon city, there were many pairs of soldiers dressed in sturdy battle armor. These soldiers patrolled the city, exuding terrifying auras. Just any one of these soldiers was as strong as a sovereign personage. Furthermore, there were at least 1,000 patrolling soldiers. They were divided into more than 10 squads and patrolled outside the city in a regular pattern like machines. The most shocking thing was that these soldiers should be inanimate objects. They did not have the auras of living beings. 18 incredibly huge dragon souls swam above the dragon city. Each of their heads was the size of a small mountain. The auras of these dragon souls were terrifyingly strong, inspiring despair. Boom! Suddenly, Xiao Chen saw a huge figure descend from the top of the city walls. This figure wore heavy armor, and thick chains wrapped around its body. It carried a metal hook on its back. Soul Reaper, one of the 10 great desolate slaves of the desolate sea, Soul Reaper. Xiao Chen's face sank slightly. What's going on with this place? Why did the ancient Azure Dragon City have such a batch of unclean things? Is it occupation or protection? Whoosh! Suddenly, Soul Reaper, who was on the city walls, turned its head and looked in Xiao Chen's direction. In the time it took for a spark to fly, Xiao Chen quickly found something to hide. At the same time, he put on the Death God mask, isolating his aura. Xiao Chen completed all of this in nearly one breath. However, he still felt somewhat worried. He could feel a gaze lingering nearby. After a long time, this feeling of nervousness finally disappeared. When Xiao Chen walked out and looked up, Soul Reaper was nowhere to be seen. However, the group of soldiers of the dead were still there. Their armor shook as they moved. Aside from the dragon souls, Xiao Chen also discovered many desolate slaves above the city. However, these desolate slaves were much weaker than Soul Reaper, not as horrifying and suffocating. Xiao Chen recalled that when he first saw Soul Reaper, Xiao Chen and Qin Zhuolin nearly died. Fortunately, they managed to survive until dawn. That kind of power was not something an ordinary person could understand, let alone resist it. With the Death God mask, Xiao Chen became bolder. He carefully headed for the Blue Dragon Ancient City. Xiao Chen really wanted to enter the Dragon City to see what was inside. However, he did not dare to take this risk. Once he was discovered, all he needed was a group of soldiers of the dead to fly over, and he would die. After observing for a long time, Xiao Chen discovered a pattern. The area that these soldiers guarded seemed to be limited. They kept patrolling within a certain area. As long as one did not step into the area they guarded, one would not be in danger. Following this pattern, Xiao Chen made use of the gaps between the patrols of the soldiers. Xiao Chen advanced continuously, slowly approaching the Dragon City. His figure kept changing. He had to keep a distance from every soldier at all times. Statues. There were 2 majestic statues holding weapons in front of the city gate. The strange thing was that the statue on the right only had half a body. He continued pressing forward. He was already very close to the city gate. However, he did not know if the city gates could be pushed open. Although he did not know if the city gates could be pushed open, Xiao Chen wanted to try. Xiao Chen advanced carefully. It looked like he was only 1 kilometer away from entering the city gate. Suddenly, the undamaged statue opened its eyes, and a beam of red light landed on Xiao Chen. The patrolling soldiers suddenly stopped. Pairs of scarlet eyes appeared on their helmets as they stared at Xiao Chen. "Run!" Xiao Chen immediately turned around and ran, not pausing at all. Whoosh! The statue that opened its eyes did not move. It only swung its spear hard, and a fiery light appeared on the spear in its hand as it charged at Xiao Chen. Whoosh! Whoosh! Before the spear arrived, a horrifying aura had already swept out, nearly sending Xiao Chen flying. Thunder Monarch Spear. There was no way to dodge. Xiao Chen shouted and used the Thunder Great Tao energy to drive the 5-element Divine Lightning. The 5-element Divine Lightning merged and formed a spear in Xiao Chen's palm, releasing thousands of electric light. Boundless thunder might burst out of Xiao Chen's body as he quickly counterattacked with the Thunder Monarch Spear. The 2 spears clashed in the air, instantly erupting with terrifying energy. The explosions sent the soldiers chasing after Xiao Chen and Xiao Chen flying, buying some time for Xiao Chen. Light of Freedom. This was a chance for success. Xiao Chen executed Light of Freedom and turned into a flash of lightning, leaving quickly. Chapter 2064. It had already taken shape and could not be turned back into a divine material, so it was not worth much. Before Xiao Chen could change his move, the 2 puppets charged over like phantoms, working together perfectly. Xiao Chen showed a slightly startled expression. At first, he thought that these 2 puppets only had the aura of a great perfection sovereign personage. They formed 2 puppets, one black and one white. The white one held a sword, and the black one held a spear. Their metal bodies flickered with a faint light. "Why is there a palace over there?" "Sorry for the offense." Whoosh! However, Xiao Chen had not expected these 2 puppets to be here to look down on him. These puppets should be maintained by some kind of formation. Although these soldiers of the dead were horrifying, they could not pursue him after 500 kilometers. Sang sighed softly, "I hope so." Although Xiao Chen did not have any restless demonic qi in his body, he did not think much after his initial shock. He directly leaped down. He was defeated in a sorry state, a tragic sight. When Xiao Chen landed on the ground, he looked back and saw the group of soldiers of the dead, radiating an overwhelming aura. Even puppets could humiliate and look down on people. That blood moon pool might have been a turning point for Xiao Chen to obtain an opportunity. Maybe the world has changed. The youths no longer study the martial Tao. No. I waited by this ancient well for an entire night. There was no movement at all. Sang's calm contained some nervousness. Qin Zhuolin, who was covered in blood, was no better off than Xiao Chen. The sunlight was piercing, making Qin Zhuolin feel somewhat dazed. I only used 4.5 moves. The reason the Heaven Dragon cultivators could leave 50 years ago might have something to do with their identities. Xiao Chen picked up a piece of metal and looked at it. He discovered that it was a metal that had been tempered by a blacksmith many times. When Xiao Chen attacked, he used the Supreme Dragon Fist. As he moved, winds and clouds gathered, and dragon roars spread out. Since Qin Zhuolin could leave through the Blood Moon Pool, Xiao Chen should be able to do so as well. Xiao Chen did not dare to believe that he had narrowly escaped death. He did not know if the scene before him was reality or an illusion. Crack! Crack! At the same time, a saber and a spear continuously charged over. Clang, clang, clang. Now, Sang was telling her that Xiao Chen hadn't returned. Where had he gone? Xiao Chen felt his arm go numb. The other party's saber domain completely suppressed the king's will and Blue Dragon's divine might. Trash. The black puppet sneered. To Qin Zhuolin, Xiao Chen was someone even more mysterious than Xiao Chen. The undead guards that had been chasing after him stopped and stood in place, looking at him coldly. Qin Zhuolin vaguely sensed that many of the opportunities here were related to the dragon race. Xiao Chen took off his mask and heaved a long sigh of relief. The experience just now was truly a narrow escape from death. He had almost died in front of the city. Xiao Chen's body slammed into a mountain. The mountain shattered, hiding Xiao Chen within. Let's not consider this for now. What we need to do now is to defeat these two puppet cultivators first. Didn't Xiao Chen come back? Inside the palace, Xiao Chen did not feel any danger. Compared to the might and pressure that the Dragon City gave him, he did not feel any danger at all. Young man, why did you not learn from the good ones? To think that you actually used a secret treasure. Ga. The two puppet cultivators spoke at the same time. Their voices sounded somewhat mechanical, sounding very awkward. Xiao Chen walked towards the mysterious palace at the middle of the mountain. The closer he got, the more he felt how old and dilapidated this palace was. Boom! Where is Xiao Chen? When the puppets saw the thousands of dragon images, they actually let out disdainful voices and attacked. Xiao Chen did not see any life force on them. There was only a pair of scarlet flames in their helmet. I'm out? Xiao Chen's veritable essence energy surged, and his qi and blood surged. After advancing to small perfection sovereign personage, the might of Xiao Chen's supreme dragon fist soared. His body trembled, and boundless veritable essence energy merged with his king's will, turning into thousands of dragon images that charged at the two puppet cultivators without any pattern. After some thought, Xiao Chen made up his mind. How could he have imagined that the statue in front of the city gate would discover his presence when he wore the death god mask? The two puppet cultivators seemed to be mechanical creatures with their own intelligence. There was a person who had arrived at the Blood Moon Pool before him. When Qin Zhuolin saw Sang, he confirmed that he had truly returned. However, when he heard Sang's question, he startled awake. I only used 5 moves. The slightly dilapidated appearance could not hide its former grandeur and magnificence. With one glance, one could feel the shock and grandeur of the past. It was also a bow, a soul tool no weaker than the god Shadow Bow. More importantly, the two puppets could bring out the full might of the soul tools. In that instant, the sky changed color. Dark clouds even covered the blood moon hovering in the sky. Crack, crack. Why did they not come out? Perhaps they encountered their fortuitous encounter. Every time Xiao Chen exchanged a move, he vomited a mouthful of blood. After 10 moves, a whirlwind appeared under Xiao Chen's feet. The thousands of dragon images could not approach him. Are you sure? Sang asked. It's over. We could have talked nicely, but you refused to listen. You want to play with secret treasures with us? Of course, we have to play with you to the end. They both fell into the water, and their hearts beat uncontrollably on the verge of death. There were also the dragon souls and desolate slaves guarding the palace. Aside from being dilapidated, there was nothing special about this palace. Since he could not enter the Dragon City, Xiao Chen had nothing to do. After thinking for a while, he headed for the palace. I can crush his head with one spear strike. If not for Master's instructions, a hole would have appeared in his head. Xiao Chen crawled out of the rubble with some difficulty. When he looked up, he happened to see the black and white puppets standing before him. What are they doing? Let's go in and take a look. Xiao Chen was somewhat surprised to discover a palace halfway up a mountain in the north. The sky was already bright, and a blazing sun hung in the sky. Xiao Chen immediately felt like crying, instantly despairing. He quickly put down the god Shadow Bow and withdrew his heart flame. Then, he smiled and said, Seniors, let's talk things out properly. Let's not play with this. Paltry tricks? The ancient city of the Blue Dragon. What kind of city is this? Xiao Chen frowned heavily as he looked at the city in the distance, feeling confused. The surface of the palace was already riddled with holes. Clear signs of a battle showed up on the ground. The two puppets let go at the same time. Before Xiao Chen could cry out, 2 arrows struck him at the same time. This person was young, but his life force accumulations were so strong that it made one's hair stand on end. Enraged, Xiao Chen's veritable essence energy erupted from his entire body, and the mountain-like rocks on his body exploded. Now that a group of evil spirits occupied this place, he, a bona fide Blue Dragon race member, could not enter. Bai Sei quickly said, "Trash." Xiao Chen was stupefied, truly stupefied. He had thought of many possibilities. This greatly startled Qin Zhuolin. Although he was in a daze when he arrived at the pool, he could still see the marks on the ground. The moment Xiao Chen made his move, regretless dragons. Xiao Chen stepped forward and charged at the two puppets. Qin Zhuolin nodded. "He will be fine. I'm sure." Then, Xiao Chen soared into the air and hovered there. The god's shadow bow appeared in his hand, and a strand of heart flame spread out on the arrow. Whoosh! In the land of the blood moon, in a rush, Xiao Chen drew the tyrant saber to fight. Fighting 1 against 2 was extremely difficult. When the blazing sunlight struck Qin Zhuolin's body, it immediately gave off sizzling sounds. The cold qi in his body was instantly swept away. In this saber domain, thousands of dragon images died miserably. The scene was too tragic to look at. However, now one grasped a saber domain, and the other grasped a startling spear technique. Furthermore, Qin Zhuolin had a metallic physical body. He immediately felt a headache. However, just as Xiao Chen was about to raise his foot, the countless fragments on the ground gathered together like a whirlwind. Then, Xiao Chen turned into a beam of electric light and moved 500 kilometers away. After 500 kilometers, taking advantage of the situation to kill? Originally, Xiao Chen did not intend to use a soul tool. However, these two venomous snake puppets were simply too much of a bully. The ancient dragon city, the weapons of the dead, the 18 dragon souls, the desolate slave soul reaper, and everything else made this city shrouded in mystery. In front of the gate was a pile of broken pieces. There were all kinds of strange materials. Qin Zhuolin said after some thought, "Don't worry. He should not be in any danger to his life. However, this ancient well is too mysterious. There are many things that I cannot explain clearly." A drop of heart blood burst out and merged with the blood moon. Qin Zhuolin fainted on the spot. When he woke up again, he was already lying beside the ancient well. He raised his head to look. This was the strongest geomaster in the desolate sea. Even adding all his previous experiences together, he was not as dangerous as this. A voice rang out beside Qin Zhuolin's ear. He turned his head and saw that it was Xiao Chen's mysterious friend, Sang. In less than 10 moves, he was defeated. Right after the two puppets spoke, they put away their sabers and spears and each took out a soul tool. The black puppet held the spear in one hand and began to spin it rapidly. This place should be the Blue Dragon's old land. However, how did the Blue Dragon's old land end up like this for no reason? I knocked away his weapon with 3 saber strikes, and I did not even use my full strength. How boring! Xiao Chen now understood. No wonder there were signs of fighting in the surroundings. Someone must have been here before. Whoosh! The saber-wielding puppet stomped on the ground, and a domain immediately spread out from its body. It was a saber domain. Master ordered that if you want to enter this gate, you have to defeat us. How boring. Quickly scram. This is not a place you should come to. It is too trash. Xiao Chen thought that this puppet was only SOSO and could easily defeat him. Who could it be? Whoosh! Qin Zhuolin, who had narrowly escaped death under the ancient well, arrived before the pool of water. Chapter 2065. Ka Xie. The two arrows fired by the soul tools stabbed into Shao Chen at the same time. There was practically no time for him to react. The might and pressure from the soul tools and the speed of the arrows were not something a small perfection sovereign personage could see clearly. Shao Chen finally understood the fear that his opponents felt when he used the God Shadow Bow in the past. No wonder Bai Yunfei did not dare to chase at full power after Shao Chen took out the God Shadow Bow, even though Bai Yunfei's cultivation was much higher than Shao Chen's. Shao Chen was restricted everywhere, unable to bring out his full strength. Boom! The two arrows struck Shao Chen, instantly piercing through his chest and flying forward. Shao Chen fell from the air, kicking up a cloud of dust. Then, he lay on the ground, his status unknown. The black and white puppets walked over and waved their hands to scatter the dust. The saber-wielding puppet said, "He should not be dead, right? At the last moment I suppressed my might to 10%. If he died, he would be too useless." "He won't die. It looks like his physical body is passable, a half-baked divine body. Brat, if you are not dead, let out a grunt or two." The black puppet wielding the spear tapped Shao Chen twice with its spear. However, it did not do so lightly, it did not do so properly. Shao Chen cried out in pain. Then, he looked at the two puppets somewhat helplessly. "What kind of existences are you?" The black puppet said, "I am Black Egg and he is White Egg. We are the Black and White Eggs. We are under Master's orders to guard the inheritance that Master left behind. Whoever can clear this stage can obtain Master's inheritance." When the black puppet mentioned its name, it felt very cocky. Speechless, Shao Chen could not help saying, "Your master is really good at naming things." Now, he finally understood. Although these two puppets were filled with malice, they did not seem to have any intention of killing him. This was more of a test. Otherwise, those two arrows would have killed him. The white puppet corrected him sternly, "We do not have names. 50 years ago, a dragon race cultivator passed the test and gave us names. Egg is strong. The four great experts of the world, Egg, Gooden, Stupid Egg, and Foolish Egg, are all unrivaled titles. With us, the Black and White Eggs, there are 6 unrivaled titles. 50 years ago, someone came here?" Shao Chen didn't dwell on their names. He noticed that the white puppet had said that someone had been here. "That's right, he is also a dragon race martial artist like you. Your aura seems somewhat familiar to him. That's why we didn't kill you. Do you know him?" asked the black puppet. Shao Chen came to a realization. A strand of the Heaven Dragon's mysteries appeared in his hand. He asked in a deep voice, "Are you referring to this?" "Yes, it's this aura. He's much stronger than you. When he came, he was already a peak sovereign personage. However, I still managed to torture him for 5 years. I really miss those days. Every day there would be people coming to beat you up. That man is also trash. He can't even compare to us two puppet. But you're even more trash. Yes, at least he exchanged 100 moves with us the first time. You couldn't even last 10 moves. You still haven't learned your lesson? You want to use secret treasures to kill us? That's really bad. We, the Black and White Eggs, are puppets with faux god flames. We cannot be killed. The moral degeneration of the world is getting better by the day. It's still better to fight everywhere with Master. Youngsters are getting worse with each generation." Shao Chen was at a loss. He did not say anything as the two of them blabbered on and on in front of him. After scolding Shao Chen for 15 minutes, Shao Chen finally understood why the Heaven Dragon had named these two the Black and White Egg. The most important thing was that as the two spoke, they ignored Shao Chen and started to head back. Shao Chen quickly gave chase, wanting to ask how the Heaven Dragon had left back then. "What a fellow! You're starting to sneak attack. Take this." The two attacked again without saying anything, not giving Shao Chen a chance to retort. However, Shao Chen was caught off guard. He was already injured in the first place, so he could not even last 3 moves. Even if people are not capable, they still sneak attack? If they are capable, they would not sneak attack. Trash. Trash. As Xiao Chen lay on the ground, he could not say anything. As he looked at the blood moon in the sky, he felt powerless. There had never been a moment when Xiao Chen hated being in one place so much. In the past, he always felt that his mental state was fine, unfazed by favor or humiliation, without regrets. However, today, Xiao Chen felt that he had to continue tempering his mental state. However, even the Heaven Dragon had been tortured here for 5 years. When could Xiao Chen make a name for himself? Just thinking about it inspired despair. Xiao Chen could imagine how the previous generation Heavenly Dragon would arrive here in joy 50 years ago. After experiencing the black and white eggs torture, the Heaven Dragon must have thought that he might as well have died in the Heavenly Tao killing formation. In any case, that was what Xiao Chen thought at this moment. There was no sunrise or sunset in the land of the Blood Moon. The Blood Moon remained in the sky forever. To people used to the sunrise and sunset, this was simply torture. 3 days later, Xiao Chen accepted the reality of being trapped here. Xiao Chen adjusted his mental state and focused on cultivating, doing his best to defeat the black and white eggs as soon as possible. After all, these 2 puppets were only great perfection sovereign personages. Xiao Chen believed that he could defeat them one day. He did not challenge them casually. 1 month later, when Xiao Chen felt that he had completely stabilized his cultivation, he chose to make a move. Filled with confidence, he challenged them once more. In the end, the 2 of them worked together to defeat him in 5 moves. His momentum immediately plummeted. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, half a year had gone by. Xiao Chen challenged the 2 puppets more than 10 times. Depending on the other party's mood, he lost in 10 moves at times, 3 moves at times, or 20 moves at times. That was right. It all depended on the other party's mood. The 2 puppets were ridiculously strong. After they entered combat mode, they were simply undefeatable. For the first time, Xiao Chen wondered if choosing the path of the martial Tao was the right choice. However, he had to admit it. Xiao Chen could feel that he had improved rapidly in the past half a year. Although his cultivation had not broken through, his strength had at least doubled. This was especially so for his saber Great Tao. Fighting with this white egg for a long time and observing the other party's saber domain had been of great help to him. However, all this was useless, not helpful at all. After another unfortunate defeat, Xiao Chen lay on a rock and looked at the blood moon in the sky, feeling bored. The black and white eggs sat beside Xiao Chen, chattering away. Xiao Chen was already immune to these 2's venomous words. Now, they could no longer disturb him. Whoosh! Just at this moment, the blood moon in the sky suddenly flickered with light, and a terrifying might and pressure spread out. This startled Xiao Chen. This was his first time seeing such a change in the past half a year. The black and white eggs beside him also stood up and looked at the blood moon in the sky. Xiao Chen withdrew his aura and showed a grave expression, appearing somewhat nervous. He did not know what would happen next. When the blood moon stopped flashing, a foot stepped out from within. When the entire body was completely revealed, the blood moon's eyes widened. When the entire body appeared, Xiao Chen could not help revealing a strange expression. It was Soul Reaper, one of the 10 great desolate slaves of the desolate sea. Xiao Chen had seen Soul Reaper in the Blue Dragon ancient city half a year ago. Who would have thought that he would be able to walk out of the blood moon this time? Every time Xiao Chen saw Soul Reaper, he could not hide the fear in his heart. Before such an expert, Xiao Chen's existence was simply insignificant. This time was somewhat different. Xiao Chen saw several bloody corpses hanging from Soul Reaper's metal hook. These corpses had died with grievances, their eyes wide open. All of them were Divine Vein Realm Sovereign Emperors. Divine Vein Realm Sovereign Emperors were like beasts, hanging from Soul Reaper's metal hook. This scene was simply too shocking, hard to believe. Now, Shao Chen realized how lucky he and Qin Zhuolin were to survive Soul Reaper's hands. Bitchy Egg is back again. The stench of blood on his body is very heavy. My heart aches for the people hung by Bitchy Egg. How pitiful! He is really strong. He truly lives up to being an unrivaled expert known as Bitchy Egg. There is still a gap between us, the black and white eggs, and the true 4 unrivaled experts. Oh no! Bitchy Egg is looking at us. Soul Reaper, who came out of the blood moon, looked around and fixed its gaze on Shao Chen and the 2 puppets. Oh no! Oh no! Shao Chen immediately felt flustered, wanting to hide behind the black and white eggs. In the end, the 2 puppets instantly disintegrated at the same time, shattering into pieces and turning into the appearance that Shao Chen first saw. Shao Chen felt flabbergasted, unable to advance or retreat. Before Soul Reaper's gaze, Shao Chen did not dare to move at all. As he watched Soul Reaper hang experts on its metal hook, he did not know what would happen next. Chapter 2066. Clearly, being stared at by Soul Reaper, one of the 10 great desolate slaves of the desolate sea, was not a good thing. Life and death depended on this desolate slave's thoughts. As Soul Reaper stared at Shao Chen, it seemed to find him somewhat familiar. A scarlet light flickered in its eyes continuously. Soul Reaper shifted its gaze and soared into the air, landing on the blue dragon's ancient city walls again. Then, its figure flashed and entered the city. Although this happened in an instant, Shao Chen felt like several decades had passed. It was rather unbearable. Crack! The black and white puppets materialized at the same time and looked around. He finally left. Bitchy Egg is Bitchy Egg. Back then, Master did not truly defeat him. That was really scary. If you or I ended up on those metal hooks, we would be in trouble. Hey, why are you not dead yet? Black Egg muttered to itself. When it saw Shao Chen still standing where he was greatly startled. Incredible! To think that he managed to scare Bitchy Egg away. Incredible! To think that he managed to survive Bitchy Egg's attention. Shao Chen could not be bothered with these 2 fools. Shao Chen remained expressionless as he turned to leave. He thought to himself, I can't remain here any longer. Someone else always controls my life and death. This feeling is very unbearable. Before today, Shao Chen would never have imagined that Soul Reaper would come out of the blood moon. The metal hooks even skewered a group of bloody sovereign emperors who died with grievances. If Shao Chen opened his eyes one day and discovered that Soul Reaper skewered him on a metal hook, he would not be surprised. Shao Chen had seen too many strange things in the land of the blood moon. I have to think of a way to leave quickly. If the previous generation Heaven Dragon can leave, so can I. Shao Chen entered deep thought. Right now, the difference between him and the black and white eggs was not in cultivation. Instead, it was in technique and experience. That was right. These 2 puppets had more than 100 times more combat experience than Shao Chen. The black and white egg's powerful master must have copied his combat experience into these 2 puppets. Or perhaps they copied the combat experience of other powerful experts. In short, their combat experience was on a completely different level. Secondly, it was technique. Shao Chen was amazed by both White Egg's saber skills and Black Egg's spear skills. Even without a Dao domain, these 2 could rely on their techniques to suppress him. Over the past half a year, Shao Chen's saber skills had improved by several levels as he was beaten up. Shao Chen thought about it. If he wanted to win, he could only exploit the advantages that these 2 didn't have. First, the acquired divine body. In the eyes of White Egg and Black Egg, his divine body could only be considered half-baked. His divine body was the Blue Dragon divine body, which came from the most powerful blue dragon among the divine dragons of the prehistoric times. When cultivated to the highest level, one's body could rival that of a pure-blooded blue dragon. But now, the difference was too great. According to the records of the divine dragon body tempering art, one could awaken their divine body 3 more times after cultivating it. The first awakening would allow one's physical body to reach 1/5 of a pure-blooded blue dragon's strength. The second awakening would allow one's physical body to reach 3/5 of a pure-blooded blue dragon's strength. The third awakening would allow one's physical body to reach 4/5 of a pure-blooded blue dragon's strength. As for reaching a perfect 100%, that was impossible due to the human bloodline in Xiao Chen's body. There was no need to think about a perfect one. As long as Xiao Chen could awaken his divine body once, he was confident of fighting the black and white eggs to a draw. 1/5 of a pure-blooded blue dragon's strength would not only strengthen Xiao Chen's physical body, but it would also take longer to activate his great desolate Yin bloodline. Aside from his divine body, Xiao Chen also grasped 3 great Tao that the black and white eggs could not. After all, puppets were not humans. It was already very rare for their master to let black egg and white egg grasp a Tao and bring them to their limit. If Xiao Chen grasped other great Tao, it would be too heaven-defying. Aside from the saber Tao, Xiao Chen also grasped the ice great Tao and the thunder great Tao. If he could merge the 3, the might that he could erupt with would multiply. Aside from this, there was something else that Xiao Chen was most confident about. Heart. Xiao Chen comprehended his martial techniques on his own, grasping their true meanings. Be it the black and white eggs' martial techniques or Tao domains, they inherited them. They knew how but not why. In the end, the puppets were heartless and not cultivators. Now that Xiao Chen had a direction, he stopped cultivating blindly. Instead, he spent his time strengthening these strengths. Once he comprehended something, he would challenge the black and white eggs. Xiao Chen would still lose miserably, but the black and white eggs did not show any mercy. Every time they defeated him, they would use their venomous tongues to humiliate him. However, Xiao Chen did not feel any joy or sorrow. He controlled his mental state and continued cultivating bitterly. He wanted to ensure that he improved every day. Aside from this, Xiao Chen would also do his best to explore this mysterious land of the Blood Moon. This way, he would not be too bored or develop a mental block due to the sealed environment. Time flew. Year after year, Xiao Chen remained in this land of the Blood Moon for 3.5 years. Boom! 1 man and 2 puppets fought again in front of the dilapidated palace. Such a scene had appeared countless times in the past 3.5 years. Black egg and white egg were as strong as before. However, the 2 did not dare to spread out their Tao domains now, only focusing their Tao domains on themselves. The wider the range of a great Tao domain, the weaker it would be. When the Tao domain was fully focused on one's body, it would be at its strongest. The weak would not even be able to get close to a cultivator who comprehended a Tao domain. This was just like how Elder Tianyun had unleashed his sword domain during the first test in the Heaven Dragon Palace. The group of people, including Xiao Chen, all retreated, not daring to get close. Not to mention attacking, they could not even get close. They were naturally undefeatable. However, now, when facing the black and white eggs, these 2 puppets with their own Tao domains, Xiao Chen had already forced them to use their Tao domains on him. Dressed in white and holding a saber, Xiao Chen fought 1 against 2. He did not end up at a disadvantage within 100 moves. Xiao Chen's body gave off a faint azure light, and his eyes sparkled with vigor. Xiao Chen's every move contained great might. Dragon roars rang out everywhere, and dragon might intimidated everyone. This allowed Xiao Chen, who had not comprehended a Tao domain, to block the might of the black and white eggs' Tao domains. Brat, you lose. The black puppet executed a peak strike. Its spear looked like it could pierce through a world, knocking away the saber in Xiao Chen's hand. Clang! The tyrant's saber stabbed into the ground. White egg took this opportunity to drive its Tao domain to its limits, releasing a resplendent saber light from its body. Its aura locked onto Xiao Chen, and the saber in its hand pressed against Xiao Chen's chest. White egg panted, feeling incredibly fatigued. It said, "It is getting harder to defeat you now. I don't even have the strength to beat you up anymore. Black Egg said somewhat helplessly. After the divine body awakened once, there is indeed a different reaction. The strength of your physical body already surpasses our metal bodies. Indeed. When I beat you up, it hurts much more than before, White Egg said, feeling upset. Shao Chun had successfully awakened his divine body 1 year ago. His physical body was now 1/5 as strong as a pure-blood blue dragon. After comprehending it, he could exchange moves with the black and white eggs much more easily and could already counterattack. After the awakening of the divine body, Shao Chen's physical body's various aspects reached unprecedented height. His mind, energy, and spirit all underwent a qualitative change from the inside out. Now, even if Shao Chen wore white robes and did not reveal his aura, he would still look extraordinary. Just by walking in the crowd, one could sense that Shao Chen was extraordinary. He had an extraordinary temperament. Shao Chen could already merge his 3 great Tao. When he used them, he did not seem inexperienced at all. The only unfortunate thing was that he failed to break into the Tao domain several times, not succeeding in the end. However, it was still too early for the black and white eggs to say that Shao Chen was defeated. Suppressed by the two, Shao Chen revealed a faint smile and said, "The two of you, have you not noticed anything wrong from the start of the battle?" White Egg blabbered, "What's the difference? No matter how much you jumped around, you still lost. It's just that we did not have the strength to beat you up. It is not that simple to pass our black and white eggs test." Black Egg added, "That's right. Youths are indeed youths. They get complacent just because they have some achievement." When Shao Chen heard that, he guffawed, "You two fools are too arrogant. 3 years and more than 1,000 battles. Did you not notice that I did not activate my great desolate Aeon bloodline from start to end?" The two puppets immediately felt stunned. That seemed to be true. Shao Chun did not activate his great desolate Aeon bloodline today. Ha ha ha. Black and white eggs, you will be the ones to lose today. Boom. As Shao Chen laughed heartily, his aura suddenly soared. He activated his bloodline, and Shao Chen's eyes instantly turned golden. An invisible blue dragon image came out of Shao Chen's body. Together with the great desolate Aeon's dragon might, the dragon image circled around Shao Chen. Then, Shao Chen roared ferociously at the black and white eggs. The black and white eggs, who were somewhat powerless, immediately went flying. The tyrant saber, which was stabbed into the ground, hummed. Its soaring battle hunger soared into the clouds. Shao Chun stretched out his hand, and the tyrant saber returned to his hand. His aura soared again. The blue dragon's dragon might dominated the world. Fight! Shao Chen's figure soared into the air. Then, he charged at the black and white eggs while holding his saber, launching his first true counterattack in 3.5 years. Chapter 2067. Shao Chen activated his great desolate Aeon bloodline and bore the brunt of the attack, knocking the fatigued black and white eggs into the air. "It's over. This brat's bloodline power has erupted. No, it's only been 3 years. I haven't had my fill yet." When the black and white eggs saw Shao Chun erupt with his great desolate Aeon bloodline, their auras layered infinitely, rivaling that of a peak sovereign personage. However, at this moment, Shao Chun was still a small perfection sovereign personage. From this, one could imagine how terrifying this explosion was. It was simply increasing a person's strength by tens of times. However, Black Egg did not choose to give up. With a loud shout, the two combat puppets attacked at the same time. It was another classic combination of saber and spear. The two puppets' saber Dao domains and spear Dao domains overlap. It looked like the two puppets possessed two Dao domains at the same time. This was the black and white eggs' final showdown. In the past, they had always been successful. No matter what opportunity Shao Chen found, the black and white eggs would defeat him. Shao Chen layered his Dao domain and worked with his saber and spear to defeat Shao Chen. But this time, Shao Chen was full of confidence. He said in a deep voice, "Come. Fight! The blood in Xiao Chen's body surged as he endured the might of the Dao domain and charged over. Xiao Chen tightly grasped the tyrant saber and quickly started fighting the black and white eggs. Every time Xiao Chen attacked, he infused his king's will perfectly into his saber. As the saber light flickered, only black and white remained in the world. Aside from the bright saber light, there were no other colors. During these 3 years, Xiao Chen could not make a breakthrough in his saber Dao and comprehend a Dao domain. However, that did not mean that his saber skills had not improved. On the contrary, his saber skills had improved tremendously. In the past, Xiao Chen could only perfectly merge his will of soul with his saber technique when he was at his peak. Now, he could do it at any time. This inspiration came from the sword strike of the Qing Emperor in the Yellow Springs. After pondering for many years, Xiao Chen could finally do it calmly, far surpassing the Qing Emperor in the past. Perfectly merging the will of soul into one's saber technique, merging the will of soul with the martial Dao. This is a state that even divine Vein Realm's sovereign emperors dream of, martial and soul as one. This kid is really hard to deal with. The world turned dark, and the blood moon lost its color. He entered the state of martial and spirit as one. Furthermore, he erupted with his great desolate Ian bloodline. Fighting 1 against 2, Xiao Chen did not fall into a disadvantage at all. Even though the other party layered 2 Dao domains, Xiao Chen still suppressed them. Bang bang bang! The saber light flickered even faster. As the black and white eggs retreated step by step, Xiao Chen's aura soared. Army breaker! Seizing this opportunity, Xiao Chen roared ferociously and executed the 1,000 army saber techniques breaking army. The saber light gathered at the tip of the saber. Then, in this black and white world, it burst out with a tyrannical aura that could break through 1,000 armies. Dang! Xiao Chen knocked the black and white eggs into the air. Shatter, 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 shatter the army, shatter the mountains and rivers, shatter the stars, shatter the world. Xiao Chen perfectly executed the entire set of the army-breaking saber technique. He felt very carefree, his blood surging, and his entire body feeling comfortable. However, the black and white eggs felt miserable. Even though they layered 2 Dao domains, Xiao Chen completely suppressed them. Their auras plummeted. In the end, puppets were puppets. Even if they could execute exquisite and strong martial techniques, they could not comprehend the true meaning behind them. This was unlike Xiao Chen. Even though he only executed the army-breaking saber technique, he could merge the true meaning in it. Together with the hot-bloodedness in his heart and the great desolate Ian dragon might. In the state of martial and spirit as one, Xiao Chen immediately erupted with power that far surpassed that of the martial technique itself. Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique, entering hell. Xiao Chen pressed on, not giving the black and white eggs a chance to catch their breath. The strongest killer move, entering hell, was unleashed in an instant. The Buddha said, "If I do not enter hell, who will?" This saber strike contained the intent to forego death. It contained a boldness and breadth of mind far greater than breaking the mundane and resolving the mundane. Under the control of the will of kingship, Xiao Chen accurately grasped this fearless saber move that swept out in all directions. A saber wind spread out, sounding like ghosts wailing and wolves howling. A scene of hell materialized in the mortal world. The howling saber wind sounded like ghosts wailing and evil spirits in pain. Just this saber wind placed the black and white eggs in a very tough spot to block. In the next moment, a swastika appeared on Xiao Chen's forehead. Instantly, Xiao Chen no longer held a saber in his hand in this Azura hell. Instead, it was an Azura evil dragon that came from hell, ruling the world and devouring the world. This evil dragon was the world-destroying evil dragon of Buddhist legend. It possessed an evil power that bewitched the hearts of people, causing gods and Buddhas to fall into depravity. Ordinary people would find it difficult to control. However, Xiao Chen had long since reached great perfection in this move. His heart did not change, so he easily controlled it. Xiao Chen pointed with his saber, and the evil dragon flew out of hell. The black and white eggs were instantly knocked back. The combination of the saber and spear, which had never failed before, and the layered Dao domains, instantly broke with this move. The black and white eggs fell to the ground, their eyes filled with shock. Thunder Monarch Spear. Xiao Chen waved his left hand, and the 5-element divine lightning in his palm materialized into a short spear. That was right, it was a short spear. Compared to the long spear of the past, the short spear was denser and mightier. It was also easier to execute. It was no longer like the past, where it could only be used as a killing move. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. As Xiao Chen waved his left hand, the short spears formed by the 5-element divine lightning shot out with terrifying lightning-attributed energy. This startled the black and white eggs. They dodged continuously lest the short spears hit them. Candle Dragon Eyes. A spot of starlight appeared in Xiao Chen's eyes. When the image of the candle dragon's head appeared behind Xiao Chen opened his eyes. The spot of starlight turned into a burning candle flame when Xiao Chen opened his eyes. Xiao Chen's ice great Dao energy drained quickly. The flickering candle flame followed Xiao Chen's gaze, spreading the power of the ice soul everywhere he looked. The black and white eggs immediately slowed down significantly. Kaxie! Kaxie! Several short spears struck the two puppets, instantly creating many holes in their bodies. Stop fighting! Stop fighting! Stop fighting! We admit defeat. We are defeated. The black and white eggs no longer had any temper. They shouted loudly, admitting defeat to Xiao Chen. The great desolate Ian energy vanished, and Xiao Chen withdrew his aura and sheathed his saber. After Xiao Chen landed on the ground, he took a few steps and arrived before the black and white eggs. 3.5 years. After 3.5 years, Xiao Chen finally defeated the black and white eggs. Xiao Chen had won cleanly and delightfully. However, now Xiao Chen, who had wanted to take revenge in the past, now felt as calm as still water. If not for the black and white eggs, Xiao Chen would not have been able to improve so quickly after being tortured for more than 3 years. The techniques that Xiao Chen learned from these two puppets would be useful for the rest of his life. Congratulations, brat. You are finally not trash anymore. Quickly go. Master's inheritance is in there. You are really ruthless. It looks like I will not be able to repair these holes quickly. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and performed a cupped fist salute. Sorry for the offense. Then, he eagerly headed for the palace. The existence that could create the black and white eggs was at least a faux god. Xiao Chen was very curious about the powerful master of the black and white eggs. Of course, he anticipated the inheritance that master left behind. What title do you think we should give him? White Egg asked as it looked at Xiao Chen's back. Black Egg thought for a while before saying, the 4 unrivaled titles in the world, Scoundrel, Foolish Egg, Dog Egg, and Fool, are already occupied by others. Now we have the titles of the black and white eggs. 50 years ago, that person snatched away the title of Dragon Egg. I wonder what title we should give him. White Egg thought for a while before saying, indeed. It is really hard to imagine. Since he could defeat us, it would be inexcusable if we did not give him a title. Just as the two were at a loss as to what title to give Xiao Chen, however, Xiao Chen had already arrived before the palace. He felt somewhat nervous. What could he obtain from a faux god inheritance? Whoosh! With a gentle push, the palace doors opened. Then, Xiao Chen walked in with large strides. Xiao Chen was immediately stunned. He saw that the vast palace was empty. There was nothing there. He could see clear signs of someone moving something on the ground. The place where the shelves of treasures should have been was now empty. Aside from the lingering auras of some treasures, everything of value in the entire palace had been moved away. The previous generation Heaven Dragon, Understanding immediately dawned on Xiao Chen. Then, he quickly realized that this was the previous generation Heaven Dragon. When the other party left, he collected all the faux god inheritances in this place, not leaving anything behind for Xiao Chen. While chatting with the black and white eggs, Xiao Chen learned that there were at least 10,000 faux god inheritances of various sizes. This fellow is really ruthless. Feeling somewhat helpless, Xiao Chen walked forward. There seemed to be a jade strip on a pillar in the middle. Xiao Chen picked up the jade strip and infused some soul energy into it. Immediately, a string of information appeared in Xiao Chen's mind. These were the words left by the previous generation Heaven Dragon. Successor, for you to reach this place, you must have defeated the guarding puppets, the black and white egg. Don't let these two fools injure your confidence. These two combat puppets are as strong as faux gods. They will automatically suppress their strength based on the previous person's cultivation. They will always be one minor realm higher than you. If you really think that they are only one minor realm higher than you, you are gravely mistaken. Let's not talk about these two fools. I left in a hurry, so I took all the things with me. I'm sorry. However, I will tell you how to leave this forsaken place. You should be a dragon race cultivator. Otherwise, you would not have been able to reach this place. There is a section on how to cultivate the Heaven Dragon's mysteries in my jade strip. Consider it compensation.